Listen, the only way to cope is to sob or to deal in really dark humor.
Right.
So guess which one we're going to pick?
Dark humor.
Dark humor. Conceal, don't feel. Back, baby!
Hi, everyone! Welcome back to the Book and Fantasy Podcast.
I'm Addison.
I'm Lorraine. We are two best friends who explore the world of fantasy through book shows and movies, but with a heavy emphasis on books. Can you believe that we are done with Empire of Storms? I feel like this book went by so fast, but also kind of slow at the same time. And then, of course, we had that crazy cliffhanger at the end.
Bro. I literally,
bruh.
And you know what? For the first time ever, I was not in a Target listening to the end of this book. I'm very proud of myself. I know, damn it.
No, I was going to say, I feel like it would have been poetic if you had been in the dark.
Damn it. Okay.
Crying in the dark.
That'll be so fun. When I finish Tower of Dawn and Kingdom Ash, I'll go to Target. I'll probably stay in the parking lot, though, because I feel like there will be tears. I will be ugly crying.
You don't want to, lay on the floor in the book aisle, just, in despair.
You know what? Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe. If we get 1,000 downloads on this episode, Addison will go on the floor and cry.
I'll do it. I'll go on the floor and cry. You know what? I'll do it.
You'll have a mission. Lock in, everyone. Lock in.
Lock in, baby.
All right. As a quick reminder, we will be discussing chapters 71 through 75 specifically, but there will definitely be spoilers for all the books we've covered so far. This includes Tab, TOG, Com, Huff, and QOS. Otherwise, the series is brand new to us, so you won't be getting any spoilers for the rest of the series. Furthermore, we would like to remind everyone that this is an adult podcast where we will have adult conversations. Explicit language or potentially triggering topics may be discussed, so please be mindful of that and adjust accordingly. Housekeeping. So now that we are done with Empire Storms, we will have our end of the book wrap-up episodes coming out after this, and then we will be covering the Empire of Storms bonus chapters. Second, we do have a variety of different episodes for you guys, whether that's deep diving with Onyx Storm, reviewing the Hunger Games trilogy, or deciding if you want to check out Silver Elite. We've got you covered with content for all of these books. And we actually will have another series to add to our repertoire, and that is Callie Hart's Fae and Alchemy series, starting with Quicksilver. As you guys can see from the track record, we've been doing Throne of Glass for literally over a year at this point. And so we're feeling it's time to cover another book series for a little bit. But afterwards, we'll pick TOG back up with Tower of Dawn and Kingdom of Ash, and that'll most likely be around January.
Related, so as you guys have also probably noticed, it's been a little while since we posted. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. Lorraine's going to be nice and try to cover for me. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me yet again. We had a schedule. We had this plan. We were going to do Tower of Dawn and Quicksilver. And guys, when I tell you that Lorraine and I, we stress about the schedule. We spend a lot of time debating it because we want to make everybody happy. We want to cover all the books in a deep dive format, literally all the time, which is actually impossible. So because of the delay, which we'll get into in a second, we decided to pivot because we really want to cover Quicksilver and Brimstone. So we hope that doesn't make you guys sad. We promise 1,000 trillion billion % we will finish TOG. I mean, we will. We're locked in, baby. I don't want anybody to be disappointed because we're switching it up, but we hope you'll read and enjoy Quicksilver with us. Neither one of us have ever read it, so it'll be the same format, deep dive everything. Then we will pick up Throne of Glass again. You know, I was thinking about it. I'm actually a little happy because literally everyone I talked to is like, I would do anything to reread it for the first time. I wish I had read it slower. And so you know what? If I can drag out Throne of Glass a little bit longer for myself, I'm not mad about it. But it will be very hard to think about Aelin in limbo in Maeve. I can't. Okay.
Maeve. Freaking
Literally
Maeve.
with Maeve. Freaking Maeve.
How dare she?
Oh my God. How dare she, that bitch. Okay. As you guys noticed, we have not posted in a while. And to make a very long story short, basically my life blew up. I had to make a lot of big changes very quickly, mostly meaning going back to work. And I went back into education and I am teaching kindergarten, which is my first time teaching kindergarten. And it is wonderful. It really is. They are so wonderful and special. But I have never
Wink, wink,
been
nudge,
so
nudge.
tired. I have never been so tired in my life. I have never had to work so hard. Like anybody who's a teacher, you get it. If you have kids who are going back to school, you know what? If you're just a normal person, you get it. I'm getting my butt kicked. So that has been a lot. It's taking up a lot of my time. So that's why there's been a big, like, there are some other things to it. Everyone's okay. Everyone's alive is what I'm trying to say. So we're all good. Because when I say like something bad happened, people are like, oh, who died? And I'm like, no, it's not that kind of bad. It's just big changes, big adjustments. My 4-year-old went to pre-K. That's been really hard, whatever. So, but the important thing out of all of that is 2 things. First of all, we're back, baby. So yay. I'm so excited. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm like literally like jittery with excitement. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy because I haven't seen Lorraine in so long. Well, on the computer, but
virtually for recording sessions.
Virtually, that's right. But we've said it before and we'll say it again. Ain't no getting rid of us, baby. Not now.
That's
not
right.
ever. We're here to stay.
Yeah.
Also, a ton of you guys have reached out to be like, hey, are you guys still alive? Are you okay? Why haven't you posted anything? And truly, truly, thank you guys so much for checking on us. It is so thoughtful. I was telling Lorraine today, actually, I don't know what's wrong with me, but every time I read one of those messages, I start to tear up because I'm like, that is so thoughtful. And then I'm also simultaneously shocked and surprised. I'm like, wait, people listen to our podcast? I'm still shocked every time. Yes. And so we are so grateful and so appreciative. And thank you for sticking with us, even though we've been off schedule. So we're not going to make any promises. And by we, I mean me, about the consistency. It's going to be kind of sporadic, but I'm hoping like through October, we'll get back on our regular schedule. So that's the state of the realm.
The state of the realm. Yeah.
Again,
thank you guys so much for bearing with us and being patient with us and continuing to listen and support us. I finally got around to posting an update on Instagram. So,
whoops.
But yeah, as Addison said, we're here to stay. Nobody's getting rid of us. And we love you guys. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is all for housekeeping. And now let's get into the episode. We'll start with the book report for chapter summaries, and then we will dive into an analysis and offer theories for each chapter. And finally, we will share our favorite moments. With that being said, Addison, please give us the book report.
Woo! Okay, I might be a little bit rusty, so be nice, guys. Okay. Chapter 71. The Queen of the Fae was exactly as Aelin remembered. No crown adorned her head, for all who breathed, even the dead who slumbered, would know her for what she was, an evil bitch.
TCH.
I kind of forgot I wrote that. Aelin and Manon watched in horror as one of Maeve's guards held a blade to Elid's throat. Aelin tried to bait Maeve into releasing Elid, but it was no use. Maeve attacked and the world quaked in darkness and fire. But Aelin's magic was depleted and she was utterly exhausted, and it wasn't long before Aelin was encased in Maeve's dark, terrible power. Fenris and Gavriel arrive and desperately try to plead with Maeve to release Aelin, but instead she severs the blood oath with Gavriel as punishment and promises Fenris he will be enslaved to her forever as his punishment. Then Maeve reveals her long-laid schemes, her plan that was centuries in the making. She knew Aelin would be the one to retrieve the keys, and wanting to ensure Aelin would hand them over without question, she foresaw that Rowan was her mate, and so she constructed a fake mating bond between him and Lyria, all so that she could kill Lyria to break Rowan to get him to swear the blood oath to her, so that one day Aelin would give the keys to Maeve to protect her mate. Damn, reading that back, I'm like, that's even more fucked up than I thought.
She's literally psychotic.
Sociopath? I don't know, both? Can you be both? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. If that wasn't bad enough, Maeve then called Cairn to her and gave Aelin a choice. Aelin could go with Maeve willingly and get acquainted with Cairn, or Maeve would still take her and bring Elid Locken with them. Chapter 72. Everything hurt. Aelin's body, her blood, her breath, her very bones. There was no magic left and nothing, and no one left to save her. Elid began to beg Maeve not to do this, to let them go, but Maeve did not even spare her a glance. Aelin nodded to Maeve, an acknowledgement that she would go willingly to spare Elid Locken. But Aelin's torment was only beginning. She ordered Aelin to strip and then ordered Cairn to whip her 10 times, starting over every time Aelin did not keep the count. But Aelin, Ashriver, Galathinius would never count for that running bitch. And so Cairn whipped her again and again and again, until Maeve ordered them to load Aelin, Queen of Terrasen, and the Heir of Fire into an iron box. And Maeve placed a beautiful and terrible iron mask over her face. Chapter 73. Manon made it out of hearing range before she turned to watch. She could spare only a moment for the Queen of Terrasen. Manon and Aelin watched on as they loaded Aelin into the iron box and headed towards her ship, and then as she spoke to Lorcan and shockingly released him from his blood oath to live with his shame. Aelin and Manon watched on as Lorcan tried to crawl towards Maeve and as she stalked away, heading for her ship. For her sanity, Manon prayed that Aelin wouldn't be awake the entire time she was inside that hideous box. And for the sake of the world, Manon prayed the Queen of Terrasen could survive it, if only so Aelin could then die for them all. Chapter 74. What remained of the cadre, Manon and Aelin all stood in stunned silence. Lorcan tried to wrap his head around what Maeve had done, what Aelin had done. Rowan appeared and demanded to know where his wife was. That's right, you heard me. His wife. And so they told Rowan everything that had happened with Aelin and Maeve and Lyria, all of it. Aedion quickly realized that Lysandra had known all along and what Aelin and Lysandra had planned together. And surprise, surprise, things got even worse after both Aelin and Aedion eviscerated Lorcan with their words. Manon reunited with the 13 and then felt actual joy. They quickly recapped where they had been the last month, and then Manon asked them if they would follow her to raise an army for Aelin, Ashriver, Galathinius. The 13 touched their fingers to their brows, a symbolic gesture of agreement. Manon approached Dorian and told him what Aelin had done with the keys. She then gave them to Dorian because he too was part of Mala's bloodline. Dorian realized that the quest did not end here, and it did not frighten him.
He will not be afraid.
He will not be afraid. Oh my God, I wish Sam and Nehemia were here. They would know what to do. I feel like sometimes you're like, someone get an adult, even though you're an adult. Nehemia would have known what to do.
Would she have? Or would she have
yes,
orchestrated?
Or she would have.
All over.
Shut it. Shut it. Don't talk about my baby like that, okay? Chapter 75. Rowan had married Aelin before dawn barely 2 days ago. His fireheart, his equal, his friend, his lover, his wife, his mate. And that God's damned bitch had put her in an iron box. His fireheart locked in the dark. Rowan knelt on the beach and gathered fistfuls of sand and let the grains slide out, letting the wind carry them toward the sea. The others gathered around Rowan, but their attention snagged on the ships now sailing out west. A longboat swept closer to the shore as if carried by a phantom wind. It was none other than Galen Ashriver, and he brought an army. Then Ilias, son of the meatmaster of the Silent Assassins, appeared with hundreds of fellow assassins in tow. Aelin had done it, assembled an army for Terrasen of assassins and thieves and exiles and commoners, an army to rattle the stars. Lysandra and Aedion decided to head north to rally the armies of Terrasen, while Manon and the 13 and Dorian prepared to head north to find the final word key and assemble the Kraken witches, while Rowan, Lorcan, Aelin, and Gavriel would go and find their queen. Rowan looked on as the coven faded into the horizon. His companions reached their ship, and the others were readying to move the army his mate had summoned for them. Rowan stared at the sea and sent a message down the bond to his mate. I will find you. He could have sworn he felt a flicker in answer, like the fluttering heart of an ember. Unleashing a cry that set the world trembling, Prince Rowan Whitethorn Galathinius, consort of the Queen of Terrasen, began the hunt to find his wife. God's above. God's above. I am so mad at all you bitches who knew this was coming and didn't fucking tell me. You didn't warn me. I know you couldn't, but goddamn.
Yeah, that was a freaking terrible place to end, for sure. But I do feel a little bit better knowing they're going to go find her. He's going to find his wife. It's going to happen.
I know when Rowan got to the part where he was like, Aelin didn't think they would come after her. I'm like, bitch, are you stupid? Like, what do you mean they're not going to come after you? Like,
obviously,
girl,
they're going to rescue you.
I was like, Let me just tell y'all, if something like this happens to me, I expect to be rescued, okay? I'm counting on it. I don't want you to do the wise or smart thing. I want you to come save my ass, okay?
That's right. Pick me up in a golden carriage pulled by miniature horses.
Okay,
we don't trample around.
Oh my God. Will we ever get over Holland in that
Never.
Visual? I don't think
I will
so.
not.
Throwback to TOG. And if you know, you know.
Yeah, sorry not to make light of the situation, but
listen, the only way to cope is to sob or to deal in really dark humor.
Right.
So guess which one we're going to pick?
Dark humor. Dark humor.
Dark humor. Conceal, don't feel.
Well, thank you for those excellent summaries. And without further ado, let's jump into the analysis portion, starting with some overarching thoughts. Okay, I realized that I corrected myself and then I didn't learn from my mistakes and I kept messing it up until I became conscious. I became aware. So please be patient with me. It's overarching.
I
can't stop saying it.
To tell us. I know. Very nicely. It was a very nice, very sweet, loving email. And we were like, bro, we know we're so embarrassed. We're so sorry. We're cute, not smart, okay?
English is hard. English is still hard for me.
You've been speaking it for 30 years.
I know, and it's still hard.
I know. Okay. As usual, SJM did not disappoint with insane ending chapters, but I can honestly say this time I was truly shocked. I did not see that coming at all. Honestly, I thought they were going to like whoop Maeve's ass and I was going to be like, yeah, like look at us, another baddie down. So imagine my fucking surprise. Okay. Even like when she was being whipped, I'm like, okay, Rowan's going to show up and he's going to fucking obliterate Maeve. Everyone's going to get involved, like the third team, and not like
Aelin has another plan up her sleeve or like some
Yes.
shit.
Or like she's going to use the keys. She's going to let Deanna take her over. I mean, literally anything else. And here we are. I mean, obviously, everything was so shocking. Aelin, her plan, the freaking reveal about Lyria, which I know you guys were probably like cackling because literally for like 4 books, I've been like, you can't have 2 mates. That's not right. And well, I was correct. You cannot.
Surprise,
you can't.
surprise.
Surprise.
Because Lyria
exactly.
wasn't his mate. I cannot believe the lengths that she went through to like mess with this. This was a plan that was like
hundreds of years
in
ago.
the making. I was like, damn.
Yes.
Talk about a petty bitch.
Bro. Okay, we'll get there. So speaking of, also fair warning, I tried so very hard to vary my language in this episode, but I apologize in advance for the number of times I will use words like sobbing, crying, gut-wrenching, heartbroken, devastated, bitch. Those are like all the words I will just use on repeat. And I just need you to know that, okay? Because like when you're just typing away, you don't realize like the repetitive phrases you use or words. Yeah. And then when you're listening to it, they're like, they just say gut-wrenching all the time. But I'm like, what else is there?
Sorry, I was keyboard warrioring. Okay.
Okay, I was fighting for my life through these chapters.
No, totally valid and same.
Thank you.
Yeah, honestly, this whole ending set of chapters was just like gut punch after gut punch. To your point about repetitive work, one after the other for Aelin. And then the impact is just compounded by these huge truth reveals. I was a huge slop of mixed emotions for everyone and over everything. I cried and I'm still heartbroken for Aelin. Maeve is the most conniving evil villain and she is for sure number 1 on the shit list now.
Oh, yes. I think I wrote that somewhere in the notes. Like I was like, she's dethroned Granny B.
Yes.
For sure.
Absolutely. And Erawan, perhaps.
Oh, who even cares about him anymore?
Erawan,
who cares about him? Oh, for real. Because he's not even important to the story, okay?
He definitely is, but like, not right now. So, okay, anyways. But yeah, I definitely see why people are so emotionally damaged by this series because the ending of Empire Storms was brutal. I have faith in Rowan finding Aelin because that's his wife and his mate. Plus, Fenris. We can't sleep on Fenris. He's going to do whatever he can to help them find Aelin. I'm going to be clinging to that tiny speck of hope with every fiber of my being.
When you say tiny speck, do you mean that tiny ember of hope?
My tiny ember of hope. Yes, that exactly.
Just a little spark.
So that wraps up our overarching thoughts. And so now let's get into the chapters, starting with chapter 71.
First and foremost, you guys know Lorraine and I think Maeve is the fucking Valg. Matter of fact, we don't think it, we know it.
Retweet.
Okay, we know it. Except for the fact that we're just waiting for the text to confirm it. But other than that, we know it in our hearts, okay?
It's true.
So in this vein of thought, I thought it was so interesting that this chapter opens with the description of Maeve from Aelin's perspective, and it says, no crown adorned her head, for all who breathed, even the dead who slumbered, would know her for what she was, not who she was. And what is a Maeve? What is a Maeve? what is a
Maeve?
What is Maeve? A damn Valg, okay?
True.
She is. She's not a who. She's
so
a
true.
what.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
I just got goosebumps. You're so right.
Thank you.
Damn.
I still got it.
So we start with Aelin, who musters up her bravado despite her exhaustion in the sight of a trembling Elide kneeling before Queen Maeve of the Balg. Fae. A frantic Lorcan also appears, and at first I thought maybe he was going to ally with Aelin because he stands next to her. But then we get the most tragic reveal about Lorcan's betrayal. Womp womp. Before we get into that, I did note that while Maeve assesses everyone begging for Elide's release, she says, claimed by Queen and Witch and my second, it seems. And I point this out because I feel like it helps reinforce that Lorcan and Elide are mates. And Maeve is picking up on it. As y'all know, I've been putting literally everyone on Mate Watch with very little evidence for a lot of this. And we've touched on this before, but the descriptions and changes in Lorcan's behavior seem most aligned with being mates. Especially like compared to the other romantic pairings that, we've talked about and pointed out, excluding Aelin and Rowan, since we get that official reveal later.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it in the sense that she was sensing their mating bond. I thought it was because later she mentions being able to smell Lorcan on Elide, the implication being something physical happened between them. But you know what? Since Maeve could fucking detect Rowan and Aelin being mates through space and time, why the hell not,
Exactly.
True that.
To get back to Lorcan's betrayal, apparently he'd sent out a ripple of power the moment they'd seen Ansel's fleet out in the water out of fear for Elide's safety before he learned who it really was. Big, heavy sigh. I didn't want to believe it, but alas, he'd indeed betrayed them to Maeve. I have such conflicting feelings about this because on one hand, obviously, it's very sweet that he'd just been so desperate to save Elide at all costs. But on the other hand, because of this, Aelin gets taken by Maeve. And I'm heartbroken and riddled with anxiety. It's so annoying because if he had just waited a little bit longer to see who it was first, I feel like they could have given themselves some more time. But all in all, I'm sure Maeve had something planned for Aelin either way, but Lorcan's calling just expedited her whole plan, and that sucks literal ass.
That's some top-notch analysis right there, baby. Well, as a devout Lorcan lover, I did not want to believe this. I was actually determined to give some reasonable doubt in regards to Lorcan's actions, so I actually went back and read the end of chapter 58 where they first see the fleet from Melisande. Unfortunately, that reread revealed nothing in my favor. So I will even call myself out because it actually says, but Lorcan prowled to Rowan, his dark power flickering, rippling across the waves as if in a silent boom of thunder. So that is the moment that he calls to Maeve back in chapter 58. We will definitely discuss Lorcan's choice here in depth more later, and I'm not going to let it go, so I just want you to know that. But I'm just going to plant the seed of my thinking here. Lorcan did it to save Elide from what he thought was quite literally Vermin Vernon the Ilkin or even straight up Erawan. And he knew that if they took Elide, they weren't just going to kill her. They were literally going to implant her and destroy her like they did Kaltane. And Maeve would have also found Aelin anyways. So I do think Lorcan deserves some grace here. And if they're mates, which we're going to pretend that they are, it would have been an instinctual, uncontrollable urge to protect Elide. So in Lorcan's eyes, the bigger threat is Erawan, Vermin Vernon, the Ilkin, etc., comparative to Maeve. Because I don't think Maeve ever wanted to hurt Elide. I think she used Elide in that moment to manipulate Aelin. But I don't think Maeve gives a fuck about Elide. But Erawan, Vernon, etc., they actually want her so that they can do horrible things to her. So we're going to give Lorcan some grace, okay? I'm still a Lorcan lover. I'm not mad at him. I love him.
Yeah, I couldn't
I'm
stay
not
mad
happy,
at him. I'm just annoyed by the circumstances because I'm literally if you had just waited 2 minutes,
I know, but
this could have played out so different.
It.
I know.
Not that different. Maeve would have found her anyway.
Yeah, but they could have prolonged it a little bit and put other plans in place, or I don't know. Anyways, yeah, those are all things that cannot be changed. So
we'll debate this more later.
It doesn't have to be a debate. I'm not actually mad.
No,
at
it does
about it
because I want to win.
But I'm not mad at Lorcan. I'm mad at the circumstance.
That's
fair.
What it is. That's fair.
So Lorcan apologizes to Aelin, but she reveals she'd taken precautions as soon as he'd summoned Maeve. Obviously, I had no idea what she'd done on her first read, and we'll get there when we get there. But I just continue to be awestruck by Queen Aelin Ash River Galathinius. She is a selfless badass, and I stand her forever.
Okay, true. But to be honest, it actually confused me when she said this because to me, taking precautions would mean protecting herself from Maeve. So, like, maybe staying the hell away from her or, I don't know, doing anything else. And she did none of those things. So, it's kind of confused by what she meant by taking precautions. Like, what precautions did she take?
Well, I feel like she's referring to all the long-term stuff, right? Like with the armies and gathering the silent assassins and all that stuff. And to some extent, I would almost imagine that whether it was Maeve or Erawan, she was anticipating something. Well, she's always like kind of figured out for some time now, right? That in the end, she doesn't think she's going to live through any of this. It's on the path to be the gods, but like it could be anyone, I guess. But either way, regardless, she doesn't plan on living through all of this, I guess, is how I was interpreting it. And so, like, all of her precautions were just setting everyone else up to survive, basically, you know, I guess.
That's fair. That makes sense.
In addition, Maeve has done plenty of research, and she knew that Aelin has Blackbeak blood. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised by that, but it demonstrates that Maeve knows so much more than she lets on. Aelin gets to negotiating by asking what Maeve wants in exchange for a lead, and you just knew that this was not going to end well when it said that Adder's smile curved Maeve's lips again.
I think for me, this is the moment where I really started to feel the anxiety and dread because you start to get this sense of the idea that despite how incredible Aelin Ashford Galathinius is, she is not going to come out on top in this conflict. This is the moment where you're like, this isn't feeling good. Don't like it.
We change to Lee's POV, who quakes with fear as she mulls over her disbelief that Lorcan had loved Maeve as well as his betrayal by summoning her to save Aelin. And I can only imagine Aelid's shock, but it turns out that she had been right to worry if she and Lorcan had only brought Aelin more trouble when they finally crossed paths a few chapters ago. I feel so bad for her, though, because after everything they'd been through, Lorcan, in the end, you know, still chose to call for Maeve instinctively. Everything about this set of chapters was kind of a mixed bag of feelings, because even in this case, as we talked about earlier, Lorcan was just trying to protect Aelin, but it just caused more pain for her because now she's losing her queen after waiting years to see her again, and she feels betrayed by Lorcan, yada yada. Like, I don't know. So many emotions.
I know. And again, I don't think that Lorcan did it to hurt Aelin. He did it to save Aelin, okay?
Right.
And the framing on that is super important, right? And I feel like in this situation, intent really matters. And I need Aelin to understand that because she needs to forgive Lorcan. Once they save Aelin, they'll be okay.
Maeve asks Lorcan where Athral's ring is and the word keys, and this is when Aelin realizes that the ring Lorcan had given her wasn't just any regular ring. And I know that Lorcan gave her that ring most likely to protect her from Erawan's Valg, but I do wonder if now that Aelin is wearing it, she'll figure out what the ring really does and piece together that Maeve is a Valg later too. Because Aelin is like wise and smart, so I could see her figuring it out.
I totally agree with you. Again, just want to point out there is no text confirmation that Maeve is a Valg. Lauren and I have just made it canon in our heads that she is. So just in case you're new here, we've never read the series, you don't know anything. That's what we think.
Very strong
sometimes
hunch.
We forget to reiterate that some things are our thoughts, not text confirmation. So
yeah. Even if it's not that, I'm sure the ring will come into play either as part of Aelin's rescue mission from Maeve or as part of like the final play to defeat Erawan. Basically, kind of like a repeat of what we saw at the end of Queen of Shadows with the King of Otterlin. If Maeve is a Valg, like we suspect, then the ring would definitely, help big time against her. So, I don't know. Either way, we're not done with that ring.
I agree. I really think there's more to Athral's ring and his story than what we've been told. And I would not be surprised in the slightest if it ends up having other magical properties or powers that we don't know about yet. I feel pretty strongly about that.
Yeah. Also, in thinking about this moment, it just sucks so bad because Aelin doesn't know what the ring can do, but they can't reveal they have it, and they also couldn't get it on Aelin's finger without Maeve noticing. But had Aelin had the ring, I wonder if it would have given her the time that she needed to avoid being taken by Maeve at the end here. So many little things. To Aelid's horror, Lorcan goes on to confirm for Maeve that Aelin has 2 word keys and probably has a good inkling where Erawan hides the 3rd. I was starting to feel like maybe Lorcan will change and work against Maeve, but in the end, he was still loyal to her and forced to reveal whatever by the blood oath, of course. So even if he hadn't wanted to reveal anything, I doubt he could have helped it, which sucks.
Yeah, I think Lorcan told her mostly because of the blood oath, but also you have to remember at this moment, Elide has a knife to her throat, so I think he's trying to play nice with Maeve to protect Elide.
So at this point, Aelin steps in to distract Maeve, and she brushes up against Manon, and we know that this was the word key transfer moment. She also gives Manon a look to get Elide out of there as soon as she gets a chance, but goes on to ask Maeve, want to dance?
I love reading this part on a reread, knowing what's going down with the word keys, because the first time, you have no idea. So when you go back and you're like, oh, this is the moment.
Mm-hmm. So we do get that reveal that Maeve had not only tried to slander Aelin's name and cause by pretending to set the Eagleway fires as her, she'd also been the one to clue Erawan in on Aelin's location. She'd apparently been preparing for this moment from the very beginning and says, it was a convenience that Lorcan gave your precise location and saved me the energy of tracking you down myself. As stated earlier, Maeve is just the ultimate sleazebag, and I'm just so frustrated that she got the upper hand at the end of this book. We were supposed to defeat her, and yet...
I know.
We have not yet.
But honestly, in retrospect, I'm not surprised. We've known from the very beginning that Maeve plays the long game, and it seems like she's been playing this quite literally since the day Aelin arrived in Wedland, like this part, but like all the other stuff, literally centuries prior, right? And Brandon even kind of gives her a warning back at the temple in Ilium, right? Like Maeve plays games that are much farther reaching than you could possibly imagine. And so this was probably inevitable.
It gets worse, however, because we also learned that she'd brought her armada as a backup plan in case Erawan's Ilkin didn't end up coming. But since they had, her fleet had been used to trade Rowan and the rest of her court when they'd fought. This is just so crazy that Maeve has so little regard for her ships and soldiers. Elide thinks the queen was utterly insane, and I big time agree with that. She's conniving, ruthless, and honestly just fucking crazy.
Dude, she has to be so confident in her power and her resources to literally burn a ginormous armada just to tire Aelin out. I mean, as Aelin said, utterly insane. It is absolute insanity.
Aelin and Maeve start fighting, light against darkness, and as this happens, Lorcan slits the throat of the guard holding Elide. So I did have a clarification question to ask. Elide tries to run from Manon, but then Lorcan holds her back and says, stupid fool. And I was like, why did he say that? Obviously, Lorcan is still under Blood Oath command, so did he say that because he thought she'd provoke Maeve into hurting her by running? I don't know. How did you read that scene?
It's funny you called this out because I had the exact same thought. I read it back a few times, and my best guess is he thinks it's stupid she's running to Manon instead of running away. I think Lorcan thinks there is no way Aelin and Manon are walking away from this, so running towards them just means running right back into danger versus running away, which gives her a small chance of survival because Maeve will be preoccupied with Aelin, and as we kind of touched on earlier, I don't think Maeve actually cares about Elide in the slightest. Like, only in a sense that she is useful to manipulate Aelin. So I think Lorcan's like, bitch, run away. Like, go anywhere else. And instead, she ran right towards the conflict. We'll talk about Elide's choices here. I love our girl, and she is so loyal, but she dumb as hell. We'll get there when we get there, okay?
Oh, man. Maeve, of course, commands Lorcan to hold Elide, rendering him powerless to help her, so he tells her to push him and run. But our fearless Elide thinks she would not. She'd sooner die than flee like a coward, not when Aelin was going to the mat for all of them. I love that Elide is holding steadfast in support of Aelin, but also, would it have been better if she had run? She wasn't going to be able to help Aelin, and maybe with Elide gone, Aelin, could concentrate on Maeve. I guess in the end, none of it really mattered because Maeve made sure that basically everyone was either too tired to fight or leashed by the Blood Oath, so it feels a little bit pointless to wonder, but also I'm still kind of like side-eyeing the situation.
Okay, remember a minute and a half ago and I was like, we'll get there when we get there? Well, guess what? We're fucking here. This entire sequence, I was like, Elide, run. Do not be a hero. You're not a hero in this moment, okay? You've got Manon, you've got Lorcan, you've got Maeve and Aelin, all of whom are extremely powerful. And I'm like, girl, I love you, okay? I have so much respect for her, but you are a moron. You are a human. You got nothing on these people. And instead she's like, I'll never run. I'm like, you're not going to be able to run much longer because you'll be dead. Okay. Okay.
She
I
is
know it's
not
easier
a
said than
runner,
done.
and she is not a track star.
Her flight or fight reflex is always fight.
That's true, yeah.
As scared and trembling as she is, she never runs. She always fights.
It's because that Blackbeak blood, it runs deep, okay?
Blackbeak blood, baby, these colors don't run.
But sometimes they should.
Sometimes they should. Maybe they do. That would be okay.
In her depleted state, Aelin is unable to hold Maeve for long, and Maeve gets her to the ground. I was just reading with shock and horror when this happened, and it said there was nothing Aelin could do as Aelin screamed. It broke my heart when Aelin begs Manon to do something, but of course Manon can't because her mission is to protect Aelin and get the word keys out of there. But picturing everyone just watch Aelin get beat to shit by Maeve and Karen was awful.
Oh my gosh. On a first read, I'm not going to lie, I was seething.
Same.
I know Manon and Aelin aren't really besties yet, but I was like, do something, Manon.
Yes.
Literally anything. But then, of course, later when I found out about the keys, I was like, oh, okay, that's fine, I guess. I get it. That's fine.
Yeah,
But the first time you're like, how dare you? Like, really?
after
And
everything Aelin's like
After
helped
everything,
you
girl,
with, and I'm
thank
like,
you.
what are you
Okay.
doing?
Well, and especially knowing what Manon knows
Yes.
and the
Yeah,
keys
yeah,
and
yeah.
everything, you're like, even if you don't care about Aelin at all, which I think she does, you're risking the fate of the entire world if you
Yeah.
let Maeve take her. But of course, the keys are more important, blah, 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 you know. But the first read, you're like, what?
What the hell? What the hell?
What the hell? What the hell?
Maeve grabs Aelin by the throat with a whip of darkness as she asks why Aelin didn't use the keys. And this was another instance where on a first read, I was like, yeah, use the damn word keys. We've talked a lot about, like, should she have used them? Would it be a good idea because of, like, the Deanna situation, yada, yada. And in this case, I was like, hell yeah, use the keys. Like, blasty blast Maeve out of there. But, of course, she couldn't because she didn't have them anymore. Womp womp.
Womp womp. Jinx.
So at this point, Fenris and Gabriel arrive, and my heartstrings just snapped. When they demand Maeve let Aelin go, I love Fenris and Gabriel so much. They're just part of the fam. All they want to do is defend a queen who deserves to rule, and I love that they've been trying to help her out as much as possible, like within the limits of their blood oath and everything. Everyone wants to help, but they can't, you know? Notably, when Gabriel begs Maeve, we get confirmation that Maeve does know about Adian when she says, Not Majesty, has the lion gone a bit feral, perhaps too much time with his unchecked half-breed bastard. Again, not surprised per se, but also not comforting to know that she knows this information because it's just another thing that Maeve can use against them if she wants. Aelin at this point is completely burnt out, and Aelin thinks no fire left in the queen. Not one ember.
Oh, that line literally gave me goosebumps. But the next one made tears well up in my eyes. And it said, and the only way Aelin could face this, accept this, was to go down swinging like Marion had.
Marion!
Y'all know what that does to me, okay? You know when Aelin's mom gets brought up, I'm not okay.
Maeve once again proves that she doesn't deserve any of her power when she severs Gabriel's blood oath with dishonor after he asks her again to let Aelin go and offers to take any punishment intended for her.
Gabriel, no! Gabriel! Just so y'all know, if you're new here, that is a reference to White Lotus and one of the actors, and we do it a lot. So just, if you get confused, just message us and we'll send you a clip. Okay. But when he offered to take Aelin's punishment, I just...
the honor.
He knows how horrible it's going to be, and he still wants to do it. And then they're just trying to protect her. I'm getting upset. I'm working myself up.
Yeah, all of this was just so cool because, you know, she was playing on Gabriel's sense of honor, and she knew that to release him with dishonor would be really terrible for him, since being a good, honorable soldier to Maeve was Gabriel's way of creating something for himself, since he wasn't going to inherit or rule within his family. So now he will have nothing and no one since he's been stripped of his title. You know, I'm sure he'll find his place with Rowan and Aelin's court, but seeing how affected they were by the severing of the blood oath was crazy. I didn't really know what it would look like to have it severed with dishonor, but apparently it's like physically awful.
I think it also might have to do with the fact that it's a magical connection. And so severing any kind of magical bond, especially one as sacred as a blood oath, has to have some kind of physical impact. I also don't know if time impacts that because they have been linked to Maeve for decades, if not centuries. So I'd imagine the longer, like the older the connection is, that probably impacts them more too. And then probably just, Gavriel's own honor, because you have to remember the Fae have heightened feelings, right? They feel everything much more deeply. That means highs and lows, right? And so it's just devastating all around.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Fenris, Maeve knows that keeping Fenris tied to the blood oath would continue to be the worst possible torture for him, and it broke my heart when she tells him, but what greater punishment for the one who is a traitor to me and his very soul than to serve me forever? Plus, of course, she still has Connell too, so it's like a double whammy for Fenris. Feeling sufficiently confident in her domination, Maeve goes on to finally reveal a long-awaited truth, that she's known about the lock and what would be required of Aelin to forge a new one, but she didn't want to lose the keys if Aelin fulfilled this prophecy, so she concocted a whole ploy literally hundreds of years ago to break Rowan and leash Aelin, because Rowan and Aelin are dates. Finally, we get that confirmation.
Finally. But also in the worst possible way.
I know.
Could we have had a more horrible way to find that out?
While I was excited to get that confirmation out of the way, it was definitely eclipsed by Maeve's explanation of what she'd done over the years. And so I couldn't be happy about that. You know what I mean?
Yes. How can you in this moment? Okay. You know what? I think that SGM owes us all an apology, okay, because she did us so dirty with this reveal. We finally get the confirmation we've been begging for in the worst possible way. I literally can't imagine a worst possible way of finding out. And then after this fucking reveal, this was the moment I was like, Maeve is worse than Granny B.
Yep.
Like that, just flat out. To mess with someone's mating bond just feels diabolical. All for the purpose of messing with someone else's mating bond.
Yeah.
I just can't.
So before diving into Maeve's whole plan here, I do want to point out additional evidence that Maeve is likely a Valg. She mentions, Brandon stole the keys from me after I took them from the Valg. They were mine and he snatched them. And I feel like in order for Maeve to have had them in the first place, she must have been a Valg. Stemming off that assumption, one of my outstanding questions is, how did the Valg open up the word gate and create the word keys in the first place? Or alternatively, did the Valg slip through the word gate after the gods did way back when? I can't remember if that was mentioned back in Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows already. I know we learned that's how the gods came into this world, but I don't think the Valg were associated on that. But someone correct me on that if I'm wrong.
I think it was just, there was a tear between worlds and things slipped in.
Okay.
And then they got trapped there. So
okay.
I think this is
just with once the word gate was already open?
Yes. Well, and I'm wondering too if we'll find out later more from Erawan, because we're going to get some villain speeches from Erawan at some point.
Right.
And maybe Erawan came on purpose so he could conquer his own little world. Sort of like a Crescent City situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. And then the second thing, as we've asked before, what is Maeve's status with Erawan? Are they enemies? Are they allies? Are they neutral? I would like to know.
Retweet. Me too. Me too.
To get back to Maeve's plan to muddle the mating bond between Aelin and Rowan, I think this clarifies Maeve's overall game plan. I feel like she definitely wanted control of the entire word gate, and since Aelin and her potential offspring pose such a huge threat to both her power, and then she could also close the word gate for good, it seems like she did all of this to minimize the chance of any of this happening. There also definitely seems to be some Maasverse implications regarding Mala's bloodline, since her fire/light power bred true for Aelin, and thus likely would in at least some of her offspring as well. Or that seems to be the assumption. But yeah, overall Maeve is a sadistic bitch, and I feel no qualms about stating that. It's just so messed up to manipulate and confuse a mating bond, convince Rowan that Lyria was his mate, and convince Lyria that Rowan was her mate, only to then kill Lyria and his baby to make sure he would be broken and never consider loving someone else. Or realized that his real mate was actually still alive and out there. Honestly, that is some Vogue shit. I know it's not confirmed, but that is some Vogue shit.
It is. It really is. Also, I just have to throw in there, R.I.P. to Lyria, my girl, okay? She was just a poor innocent female selling her flowers in the market, and Maeve was like, you. She randomly picked her mating bond, let her get pregnant, then had her killed, okay? And so, I'm sorry, I don't think Lyria gets talked about enough because this is so unfair to her. She never got a chance to live a full life or find her true mate. Lyria is as much of a victim as Rowan. And I just, R.I.P. Lyria. Baby, I hope you're out there somewhere. I hope you're living a good afterlife because you got done dirty. In my mind, she's like Ress and Brello. Like, I think about them and I feel so devastated by their loss, but they're like not really important to the story at all. But to me, they're important. Okay, I didn't forget about them.
Never forget.
Never forget, baby. I also have to give myself a pat on the fucking back because I specifically remember when we first got the story of how Lyria died, I called out that I thought it was suspicious as hell that some random enemies slipped into Dornell and killed her. I remember reading about how Dornell was situated, like the way it's sort of naturally protected by mountains and stuff. There was some line about nothing got past Maeve's wolves. And then being like, well, if nothing gets past Maeve's wolves, then how did those unknown enemies get in and kill Lyria specifically? And I just want to say, I call that shit, and I was right to be suspicious because it didn't make sense. The math didn't math.
It was Maeve.
It was Maeve.
Also, I think the fact that someone super powerful like Maeve can manipulate mating bonds, well, I guess not like change them ultimately, but like trick someone into thinking that they met their mate when it really isn't, definitely has implications for other SJM books and series because now we know you can be tricked into falling for the wrong person or steered away from your true mate.
Okay, well, thanks for that because I hadn't thought about that and I was going to try and go to sleep tonight. But now I don't think I'll be able to because I'll be worried about which mating bonds are real and which ones aren't.
Makes you wonder.
That's rude. Why do you want to hurt me?
It had to be said. And then to take this all a step further, I also feel like this totally explains why when Aelin was in Wendelin for Heir of Fire, Maeve never tried to make a move against her. She just purposely sent Rowan to like train her, hoping that they'd realize they were mates, only to then, you know, further inflict pain by making it impossible for them to be with each other. But they were both like too broken by their past to figure it out. And so it's crazy. Notably, Aelin also reveals that the moment Rowan had been shot by Astron's arrow in Queen of Shadows when they run from the witches at Themis's Temu Temple, she knew Rowan was her mate. Also, as a side question, so Maeve knew Rowan was Aelin's mate and had been begging Aelin's parents to see Aelin. And while everyone kept Aelin away from Maeve, fearing Maeve discovering Aelin's true power and having like Mala's fire power and all that, do you think they also knew that Aelin's mate existed in Wendelin? So that was another reason to keep her away since Wendelin is controlled by Maeve?
No, I don't think they knew. I think that would have been actually impossible for them to know. In fact, I find it very suspicious that Maeve was able to foresee that because to our knowledge and throughout the entire series, the only people/person who has foretelling capabilities are the elders within the witches. And even that is very rare. So I think the fact that Maeve could do that speaks to her being a Vogue, honestly. But to get back on track a little bit, I just don't think they would have any way of knowing that. I think that they just knew that Maeve was bad fucking news and they wanted to keep Aelin away at all costs because she's just, they know how she is.
True.
So
bad Auntie Maeve. Keep her away.
Bro.
To continue, we also get another major confirmation to a question we've been discussing, and that is regarding Aelin's mortality. Maeve says, if it's any consolation, Aelin, you would have had 1,000 years with Prince Rowan. Longer. My sister Mab's line ran true. The full powers, shifting abilities, and the immortality of the Fae. You're likely about 5 years away from settling.
Say that. Say it ain't so.
Oh my God. Okay. So the settling was brought up by Fenris and Gabriel in chapter 31, but we still don't know for sure if Aelin was actually immortal, as in, was she going to be a full fae, or if she would just have a longer lifespan. And then, of course, there is the possibility of still like losing magic entirely in the settling process. Maeve's words here indicate that she believes Aelin would both lock in full fae immortality and retain her powers when she undergoes the settling, which is good, but also not great right now because we see Maeve fully intends to use and control Aelin and her power rather than let her be sacrificed to close the word gate for good.
Yeah, I remember us talking and debating about the settling and like how that would all play out. And so honestly, I think we can pretty much trust Maeve's information on this, as she was able to foresee that Rowan and Aelin were mates and whatever else she's been able to do. I think it's pretty safe to assume that that's an accurate assessment of Aelin's future, which kind of devastating because that means they could have been together for 1,000+ years. Okay. And so tangentially related, when Maeve tells Rowan that about the 1,000 years, sobbing.
Yeah.
I felt so much rage. I'm like, they could have been together forever. They could have been happy. I know. It fills me with wildfire. Okay. It fills me with burning rage.
Oh my God. Shadow fire.
Burn. It's okay, Lori. Oh my God.
Maeve writes sins and tragedies. And speaking of which, Maeve says, I certainly have no plans to waste you on that lock, to waste the keys when they are meant to be wielded, Aelin. And damn, I mean, I didn't think Aelin's fate could get any worse than being sacrificed, I guess, by the gods, but this would absolutely be worse. Like for Aelin to become this prisoner of Maeve and be forced to wield the power of the keys for Maeve's personal use to bring harm to the world and those that she loves. That is absolutely worse than dying. It basically seems like Maeve would use Aelin exactly as Erawan had been trying to do with Lady Keltane. Not to mention the King of Adarlan at the end of Queen of Shadows implied that there is a great cost or some kind of like altering of one's soul when you wield the keys, because he'd said, do you understand the cost of the keys, what you must become to use one? So, I don't know. In this position with Maeve, Aelin would just become this like soulless weapon, basically. And I don't want that for her.
Well, damn.
I know. At the end of this chapter, Maeve brings out freaking Cairn, which made me absolutely sick. She tells Aelin, either you come willingly with me and get acquainted with Cairn, or I still take you and bring a lead login with us. Things just got worse and worse. I had such a bad feeling about Cairn as soon as he was introduced, but you just knew where this whole scene was going based on the background we've gotten about Cairn's sadistic nature and that he enjoys torturing people. Yeah, safe to say the ending of Empire Storms is not for the weak.
Oh, forget Empire of Storms. After reading this one single scene, I feel absolutely sick about the idea of reading Kingdom of Ash.
I know.
Because remember Queen of Shadows, how like every chapter with Dorian was so demoralizing when he was trapped with the Vogue. And you're just like, I cannot read any more of this. Every chapter with Aelin is going to be her suffering horrifically. I think I'm going to need to like take breaks between that because
I don't want to know.
I know. I'm like, can we just skip to the part where she gets rescued? I mean, I'm assuming she gets rescued, but like, no. Mm-mm.
Yikes.
I'm not prepared.
Yeah, same.
Big yikes. Big yikes.
All right. So that ends chapter 71. Moving on to chapter 72. We change to Aelin's POV, and it continues to be heartbreaking when Aelin thinks good. Manon would get a lead out. The witch had been waiting for Aelin to make a move, not realizing that she had nothing left. Oh! It's crazy that Aelin really was the biggest weapon against Maeve. Like everybody's biggest weapon against Maeve. And without her, there was really nothing anyone else could do. No more secret ploys from Aelin.
You know, even though I knew that, just hearing you say it really hits it home. Literally no one can touch Maeve. That's how powerful she is. Literally no one. Not Lorcan, not Gabriel, Fenris, Rowan, Manon, nobody. And you know why that is? Probably because she's a Valg. She's a Valg.
Yeah. In the meantime, Lorcan begs for Elide to be let go, and Manon claims her as an Iron Teeth and feigns neutrality by stating, if you have no quarrel with me, then you have no quarrel with her. I love Elide for trying to fight to stay with Aelin, but Aelin nods at Maeve, signaling her acceptance and surrender to ensure Elide would be released.
I also admire Elide, but at the same time, I was like, Elide, are you nuts? Are you stupid? Look at what Maeve just did to Aelin. Look at what she just did to Aelin, the Heir of Fire. You are a human girl. You stand no chance. Run, girl. Run for your life.
Yeah.
Damn.
Where was Aneth?
And thank you. Okay, where was the Lady of Wise?
She was like, nope.
Oh my God. Aneth was on her cigarette break or something. Jesus. Where were all the damn gods? What were they doing during this?
Literally freaking nothing, because they're useless.
I didn't used to get that until I just said that. Okay, wait. Yeah, sorry. My brain was working when you said that. But they have to be pretty not happy about the situation because they want Aelin to forge a new lock so that they can go back to their homeworld. So I'm surprised that they didn't try to intervene in some way. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, they need Aelin to die for them. Which
but
also
if Maeve keeps her alive, then
yes, imprison her. Oh my God. Whoa, what?
See, yet another reason why Aelin should have just used the damn keys while she had a chance. Because then Deanna, maybe she could have popped out the portal and just like, boom, blasted Maeve on out of there. Problem solved.
You said popped out of the portal.
I mean, that ultimately still doesn't solve the long-term problem for Aelin, but at least we get rid of one of the evil people.
Yeah.
So, dang, what are those gods doing? Where are they? Where have they been? Where are they going? What are they doing?
They're shopping on Temu for a new temple.
Yeah, they're already like scrolling. They're like adding new
Facebook
worlds to cart. Yeah.
Yes. Need to furnish this new world. No holds, best offer.
I'll give you 1 Galathinius.
That's terrible. Take that back.
Okay, guys.
Oh
sorry.
my gosh.
I'm gonna get back on track now. I was ugly crying while I was reading this just all over again when Aelin thinks Terrasen would need that sort of courage if it was to survive, if it was to heal. Terrasen would need a lead lock-in.
Oh, I love this quote because I love a lead. And I also wonder if it's actually some foreshadowing that Elide will do something specific that is critically important for Terrasen, maybe in a battle or some key contribution that she'll make.
Aelin then gives Elide one final message, which was tragic. I know it's long, but I'm going to read the whole quote because it was so good. She says, "Tell the others that I'm sorry. Tell Lysandra to remember her promise and that I will never stop being grateful. Tell Adian, tell him it is not his fault and that I wish he'd been able to take the oath, but Terrasen will look to him now, and the lines must not break. And tell Rowan that I'm sorry I lied, but tell him it was all borrowed time anyway. Even before today, I knew it was all just borrowed time, but I still wish we'd had more of it. Tell him he has to fight. He must save Terrasen and remember the vows he made to me. And tell him, thank you for walking that dark path with me back to the light." This was so emotional. Before we'd even learned that she never planned on returning to Terrasen, the speech just like already really kind of clued you into the possibility that Aelin doesn't believe she'll go home. And she fully believes that she'll just be stuck with Maeve as her slave and weapon for literally the rest of her life. And I hate that so much. Obviously, I still refuse to believe it. Like, they're going to rescue her, but I hated watching Aelin give in to Maeve and just, like, stop fighting, you know?
Yes, because that's so not Aelin, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's a fighter through and through. And to see her amid defeat, I think that's what makes it so hard because she doesn't get captured with like this assumption of, oh, she has a plan. Like she's going to get out of this. Like she's going to suffer, but she's going to be okay. She really, truly believes this is it. She does not think she will ever see Terrasen again. She does not think she'll ever see Rowan again. Oh, I'm going to make myself cry. Like, oh man. As you guys know, I listen to audiobooks first for enjoyment, and then I read a physical copy for notes. But Elizabeth Evans, our queen, who has narrated quite literally all of the SJM books now, She does such a good job on this part. It just fucking guts you to listen to it because there's this part she's like, and tell Rowan. And like her voice cracks.
Yes.
And you're like,
Ugh.
you just like feel her fighting to get the words out. And then just imagining Rowan's reaction to hearing all of this,
I know.
it literally made me want to throw myself on the floor and sob. I'm like, tell Rowan.
Where
tell
is
him.
my wife?
Where's my wife? Yeah.
Maeve took
Unwell.
her. Ugh.
Super unwell.
Anyways, this was then all just compounded by Lorcan also watching Aelin with gratitude in his eyes for sparing a lead. I know seeing how this all played out was absolutely brutal for him, but yeah, I'm going to need a big step up from Lorcan in Kingdom of Ash. He's not on my shit list, but yeah, again, I don't want to think about the situation because it's just so unfortunate how everything happened. But I believe he will. Like, he's going to get on the rescue crew. There will be redemption, and I'm here for it. Next, Maeve's soldiers bring over a huge box and hands her an iron mask as well. And we should have known that we weren't freaking done with those damn iron boxes. This immediately reminded me of the one Vernon tried to stick a lead in back in chapter 50. But what's even worse is that Maeve had basically been sitting on this one for centuries and had it specifically made to contain Mala's scion. I did wonder what the purpose of the mask is. Like, aside from being iron and therefore helping contain Aelin's magic, is there something else it does? For example, does it assist in torturing her somehow? I don't know. In general, there is definitely like a huge psychologically damaging aspect to it, since, I mean, like, how dehumanizing it must be to be chained and masked like that.
Oh, yeah. You know, the whole iron coffin thing, if you guys listen to that episode, I think I'm more mentally claustrophobic than I am physically. And so thinking about a lead being in that box really freaked me out. And I remember in that episode, someone commented on one of our YouTube videos and I couldn't find it. So I apologize in advance because I would like to give a shout out. But basically the gist of the comment was like, yeah, if you're having trouble with claustrophobic thoughts now, you're going to have a bad time later. And now I know what they were referring to. And let me just say, yeah, buddy, I'm having a bad time. And it's just beginning. We haven't even got to Kingdom of Ash. And that book's 1,000 pages. Is 500 of that going to be Aelin suffering because y'all are going to have to hold my hand? Y'all are going to have to hold my hand.
This box, is this like her permanent prison cell now? Like, they're not going to take her out of the box. Like, they're just going to keep her in this tiny little box.
It kind of seems like that, honestly.
No, absolutely not.
No. Don't put me down for cardio.
The last thing Aelin says to a lead before Cairn brings his whipping is this: I'm glad we met. I'm proud to know you, and I think your mother would have been proud of you too, Alid. And this was like literally the ultimate sacrifice on Lady Marion's behalf. It was like that life debt for life debt moment, you know, because Aelin's like, I'm going to spare your daughter. You spared my life. Ugh, it's just awful.
Y'all already know, literally anytime Lady Marion gets referenced, it ruins me. So you can imagine how I felt reading this. Because Lady Marion, I still think about when Alid and Aelin met in the Stone Marshes for the first time. I think that is probably like top 3 moment for me in the series so far. And so it just, I know I keep saying this, but damn.
So this next part was, oh God, it was disgusting and cruel, so I won't be going into details. But again, Maeve and Cairn prove how soulless they are when Maeve insists that Aelin count out loud to 10 lashes. Plus, it's extra cool because they force her to take her shirt off and replicate the same whippings that she'd received in Endovier, because Maeve just knows how traumatizing all of that was. And so
yeah, the whipping is hard. It's hard for me to read. I mean, it's hard to imagine. I swear, in every book, show, movie where they talk about whipping, they always do 2 things. They describe the skin as being in ribbons, which makes me want to vomit. And then they talk about the back being like a slab of meat. Okay.
The slab of
They
meat.
did that, both of those. I'm dreading KOA because I just know there's going to be a lot more of this. I'm actually like a little relieved that we're going to take a little break so that I can mentally fortify myself, honestly.
I love that Aelin Galathinius would not be afraid, and she certainly wasn't going to count for that rutting bitch. But in this case, honestly, I was begging for her to count because it just went on and on and on. Oh my God. And Aelin is a badass for enduring that. But I was like, girl, just count, please. Like, I don't want this for you. So with the news that Aelin's court was coming for her, Maeve agrees to stop and they drag her toward the iron box. Once again, gut punch. When Aelin thinks time, she needed time. The literal reason for everyone's problem in this damn series is not enough freaking time. At this point, Manon knocks the lead out to stop her from fighting against her before giving Aelin one final look and hauling a lead away. Aelin notes all the rolls of fire, the little suns and embers on the iron box, and I love that even in her state, she knew this had been the only way that Maeve would ever have been able to lock her up. And I was like, Maeve is a fucking coward. Okay, she won't even
hell yeah,
use
she
her
is.
own power. She has to use this iron box to put Aelin in it.
I cannot stop dreaming of the moment that Aelin gets free at full strength and just absolutely fucking obliterates Maeve. I literally dream about it because I know she's gonna pew pew pew. She's gonna whoop her ass.
Pew, pew her.
She's gonna pew pew her ass right off the face of the world. That is my reward for getting through the torture stuff. Oh man, at least I hope so. At least I really hope so.
Revenge is best served by Aelin Galathinius.
That's right.
I hate that Aelin is just going to sit in that iron box and suffer through the pain of her wounds because the iron is also going to prevent her from healing herself. And then I also hate it that the final line in this damn chapter was, so Aelin Galathinius dried her tears. Because it shows Aelin has accepted that there is nothing left to do but sacrifice herself. It's annoying because she's always known she'd have to do this with the gods, but now she also has to do it with Maeve. I'm just sad for her. I'm sad for Aelin. I did think it was beautiful that despite the situation, though, Aelin is grateful for the time that she did get, and it said, grateful she had met them all, that she had seen some small part of the world and had heard such lovely music, had danced and laughed and known true friendship. Grateful that she had found Rowan. She was grateful because it just shows how good Aelin is at her core. She could be bitter, angry, and broken. I'd be all of those things, but she instead chooses to think about the life that she got to live up until now. And there's something very poetic about the appreciation for life and all the small moments of existence. None of these things are epic events or experiences, but they're just these very simple human moments that she's grateful to have had. On the other hand, while I am glad Aelin did get to experience all of this, it just wrecked me all over again to know this could have all been prevented if Elena hadn't fucked shit up.
Damn, I kind of forgot about her.
Having a funeral over Aelin's life, because even though she's not dead, she may as well be, because she'll never, as far as we know right now, she'll never experience the joys of life again, as long as she's with Maeve. And mostly I just hate that Aelin continuously has to be the one to sacrifice and give and give and give in the end, you know? Like I said before, I just want to wrap her up in a warm hug and put her in my pocket and keep her safe forever.
Okay, retweet times 1,000 to everything you said. Aelin, our queen.
Queen. All right.
I'm fine. Just keep going. Just ignore me.
That was an awful
myself.
chapter. So that ends chapter 72. Moving on to chapter 73. We change to Manon's POV next as she walks off with the lead, not daring to look back or give any indication that she has the word keys. On a first reread, just that light bulb, oh my god moment, because it, obviously explains so much as we talked about earlier. But with that knowledge, what else could Manon do but walk away? The keys are obviously a second piece to Maeve's plan, so it's pretty important that she doesn't get them.
After that, obviously we need them to defeat Erawan and send the gods back and all that other shit. But also the keys are a vital bargaining chip to keep Maeve from killing Aelin, right?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
As long as Maeve knows that Aelin knows where they are and Aelin doesn't tell, then Maeve can't kill her.
Right.
So they're important.
Aelin begins to stir and she's fighting Manon, but Manon silences her as they take one moment to look back at Aelin from the grasses. Notably, Lorcan and Fenris are still immobilized by the blood oath, and Gavriel is barely conscious since he had his blood oath severed, and the Queen of Terrasen is chained and placed in the iron box. Once Aelin is carried off and Fenris ordered gone, Maeve takes a moment to talk with Lorcan, and she starts by asking, "You have done all of this for me?" And Lorcan responds, "Yes, it was all for you. All of it." Again, I think I was trying to figure out like how much of it was true and how much of it was just like, playing to Maeve's interests, I guess. But given everything that just happened, I was kind of surprised that he answered that way. But then on the other hand, maybe he was still worried that Maeve would change her mind about a lead, so he was just giving whatever answer that would placate her the most. I just can't imagine Lorcan can say at this point that he loves Maeve still. Can he? I was just kind of confused. So, like, how did you interpret and take in this part of the conversation?
I don't think he does, but I think it's fair to say he is confused and conflicted. You have to remember, he has served and pined after Maeve for 500 years.
That's
literally
true, yeah.
half of a millennia. So there's a good chance that he has Stockholm Syndrome, which, for those of you who don't know, is a psychological response. Hey, leave Lorcan alone, okay? He has trauma.
I didn't realize that you were literally going to pull out the diagnoses here. Okay. Yeah, continue.
Excuse me. I went to the medical school of Google, and let me just tell you guys something you need to know, okay?
Okay.
So for those of you who don't know, Stockholm Syndrome is a documented psychological response in which a victim of abuse or captivity develops a bond with or even positive feelings for their abuser or captor. Basically, it's a coping mechanism. Okay, this is documented. This is actual for real. For my true crime girlies, you guys know what I'm talking about. We know that he's in love with the lead, but I don't think Lorcan has realized that he is yet. So he is probably all kinds of confused and fucked up in this moment. And you have to remember, we hate Maeve because we know the evil side of her, but Maeve is the queen of the Fae, right? And she is revered among the Fae. People fear her, but she's not really evil. Most of the Fae just think she's a scary, powerful queen, right? So you have that element too of shame and being disowned by your people. And there's a lot going on there, but mostly I think he has Stockholm Syndrome. So.
You know what? Hell yeah, you're so right.
Because
how else could you love Maeve,
makes perfect
honestly?
sense. It's the same thing with Gavriel, right? He has been so manipulated psychologically for so long that mentally he can know Maeve is bad and Aelin is good, but the emotional part is so interwoven in this confusion.
No, you're so right.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
That's an excellent point. Aelin watches with fury and hatred on her face. She's not buying it. She does not believe he has Stockholm Syndrome. But Maeve goes on to end yet another cadre's blood oath to her, which was shocking. I didn't see this coming, honestly. She tells Lorcan, "I strip you of the blood oath. I strip you of your assets and your titles and your properties. You, like Gavriel, are released with dishonor and shame. You are exiled from Doranel for your disobedience, your treachery. Should you step foot inside my borders, you will die." While I was surprised by this was another example of Maeve's calculated cruelty, and it does make sense that she would do this to Lorcan. Lorcan had no title or status because he was a bastard, and serving Maeve had been his way to gain status and honor. And of course, there was the complicated love situation for her, but man, I feel so bad for Lorcan because this has gotta be just as painful for him as it was for Gavriel. And now he has no home, no belongings, no access to Wendelin, cut off.
I also was totally shocked by this. For Gavriel, it made perfect sense as a punishment, just given his nature of honor and loyalty. I remember when we had that conversation, Gavriel was the one who were kind of okay, he feels positively-ish about it, I guess. But once I read this, it definitely made sense as a punishment for Lorcan too. Not just because of his romantic attachment, but I think you have to remember Lorcan has no family, he has no friends, he has no sense of purpose other than to serve. People's sense of purpose for existence is super important. Imagine having literally no purpose, no family, friends, no one's counting on you, no one needs you. You would basically become a shell pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
And so she severed that sense of purpose he has. I think it's described in the book like a blow to the soul. And that's basically what it is.
I will say on the plus side, this does mean he can now truly be with a lead if a lead ever forgives him, because his wife, gods above, is definitely pissed, to say the least.
True. That is a positive. And more importantly, now he can fight for Aelin and fuck up all the Volk.
That's
Because,
right.
we talked about this throughout EOS. Like, how will we get Lorcan from basically hating Aelin to then completely doing a 180, right? Because that's a really hard story arc to write and make it believable. And now you start to see how he's going to begin that trajectory. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for some Lorcan character development.
Same. Manon watches Lorcan try to crawl toward Maeve after she severs the blood oath and walks away. There's something so twisted and convoluted about the relationship that really makes me sad for him, because Lorcan really did care about his oath to Maeve and was trying to protect her. But seeing how easily she just discards him, knowing how he feels about her, is disturbing. Like, it's kind of pitiful almost to see him still try and crawl after Maeve at the end here.
Pitiful is the perfect word. It is so pitiful, so pathetic, and heartbreaking. I think you're right. Discard is really the perfect word, because she literally discards him like he's trash. Her blatant disregard for human life is, you know what it is? It's a Volk thing. Only the Volk can be that unfeeling, right? I feel like even like Vernon still has some small piece of, very small piece of humanity, right? Where there's a line for him, but for Erawan, for Maeve, for the Volk, the King of Otterland, there was no line, right? They enjoyed that. And so, it's just awful.
Manon urges the lead that they needed to go, and despite everything, it did brighten my heart when Manon heard Abraxos roar, and joy sparks for Manon. I, again, am just so relieved that he was okay, and I'm excited for them to be together again. We get another sobering line to end the chapter when Manon thinks, and for the sake of the world, Manon prayed the Queen of Terrasen could survive it, if only so Aelin could then die for them all. That was like such a depressing moment, because like I did not want to be reminded of this at this moment. I cannot stand for Aelin to actually die at the end of this book, or at the end of the series. She cannot endure all of this shit of this world just to die in the end. You know what I mean?
I am a believer in happily ever afters. Okay, I said it. I stand by that. I think it's okay for everyone to live and live happily ever after. I'm fine with it, and I need that. I say that, but then I complain about other book series where no one dies. But you get what I mean. In this book, I want it. Okay.
You know, if Aelin can survive Maeve, though, she can take on the Loch and the gods. And so these fingers are crossed.
She cannot survive all this bullshit with Maeve and Karen and the King of Otterland and Erebin and her parents just to die in the end. Okay, it ain't right. Give her 1,000+ years with Rowan and her children, and as much chocolate cake as she wants, and as much dancing, music, all the clothes. She literally deserves the world. And I mean that so sincerely.
All right. So that ends chapter 73. Moving on to chapter 74. We change to Lorcan's POV this time, as he also reflects on what Maeve had done, what Aelin had done, and what he had done. The rest of Aelin's court has arrived, and it broke my heart when Rowan holds a blade to his neck and demands, "Where is my wife?" Oh, God. When he said that on our first read, I was floored. I was like, what? Excuse me? Your wife? When did that happen? And immediately you realize that Aelin and Rowan must have gotten married recently and in secret.
See, for me, I didn't immediately realize that. In fact, I was like, wait, I must have missed something. Legit went back a few chapters and I was like, did I fucking forget that they were married? Did I miss that somehow? Like, did they get married back in Skulls Bay? And then I'm like, wait, I have missed something critically important. Like, I need an explanation.
Oh, okay. I did wonder, though. This must have been what Aelin had asked Rowan to do back in chapter 60 when she told Rowan, I need you to do something for me. Do you think this is like what it was?
Oh,
like
absolutely.
Right. Okay.
I mean, to our knowledge, I don't know what else it would have been, because I guess in the back of my mind, I'm like, what if she needed him to do something like go along with Lysandra to make the plan happen? But then at the end, it's obvious he doesn't know anything about that. So I can't imagine what else it would have been.
Yeah. Overall, though, this was tragic because, well, everything is freaking tragic at the end of this book, because Lorcan and Elide are nearby and they're just horrified to realize that Rowan and Aelin are both mated and married now, which makes Rowan the King of Terrasen. And It just broke my heart because at this point it said, and for the first time in centuries, Lorcan wept.
He didn't cry, he wept. First and foremost, Lorcan lover for life. My man is brave, he's scary, he's handsome, and he feels, okay, he weeps. And second, because of that made me bawl, honestly.
Aww.
Thinking about taking this in and this being the thing that broke him. Because Lorcan understands the sacredness of a mating bond and what that means and the sacrifice. I think Lorcan is having some introspection here that he wasn't willing to sacrifice a lead, not for a single second. He risked it all, right? What Aelin has sacrificed in this moment from her perspective is truly unfathomable. And so I think for Lorcan to see the manifestation of that, it truly is devastating to him.
I would imagine Lorcan is being eaten alive with guilt because he'd been the one to bring Maeve to them, or at least like sped up the process of encountering her. Plus, honestly, like when have we ever seen Lorcan cry or really express any similar emotions so far? So you knew this like cut deep for him. So
all Lorcan knows how to feel is rage and lust, baby. Rage and lust. Okay.
At this point, Manon approaches to tell Rowan Maeve took Aelin, which Gabriel confirms and adds that the blood oath had prevented them from being able to help. I did find it notable that Lorcan realizes he had been so wrong, but then he thinks, and he could not entirely regret it, not if Elide was safe, because that definitely adds to the speculation that Lorcan and Elide are mates. Lorcan apologizes to an agonized Rowan, and Rowan in turn drops the knife, and you just knew Rowan was crushed. Manon proceeds to fill everyone in about the lock and the price the gods demanded from Aelin, and then Elide tells them about Rowan and Aelin being mates, Maeve's manipulation and lie with Lyria, and then the awful whipping and imprisonment of Aelin in the iron box.
Gods above. Gods above. Can you imagine being Rowan in this moment? Aelin has been whipped and taken by literally the most evil and powerful person in the world other than maybe Erawan. And then you find out his whole life has been manipulated and he's been lied to. His entire life is a lie. I've had this conversation with my husband before. I've been blessed and I've only been hospitalized when I've had children. And, you know, everyone thinks like, oh, I had the worst of it because like I had to give birth and stuff. But like last year, my husband was hospitalized and he's okay. But being on the other side of that, it almost feels worse being the person because you can't do anything.
That's true. Yeah.
Like I go back and forth on like whether being the person going through the suffering is worse than the person watching who's helpless, because it is a horrible feeling to know that someone you love is in a situation that you cannot help with. Oh man, I cannot imagine being Rowan. I cannot believe Rowan did not just like fall down and just die. I mean, like, just been being heartbroken.
Like, die of despair. Truly. I know.
Yes, truly. And hopelessness.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's so true. When all info is, out in the open, Aedion immediately turns on Lysandra for having known and having kept it a secret. And guys, this reveal of what Aelin and Lysandra played together was crazy.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm so excited to talk about this.
God. Basically, Aelin, she knows she's going to die for this mission with the lock and the keys. And then she planned to have Lysandra take Aelin's form and have children with Aedion to keep the royal line alive. And the line said Aelin wanted Rowan on the throne, but it would be Aedion secretly siring the heirs.
What the actual fuck?
This is next level. I barely have words to really express what I think about it, but like, what a fucking scheme. On one hand, I mean, I guess it makes sense and I get why Aelin planned this, but on the other hand, it's absolutely unhinged, especially because no one told or asked Aedion for his consent in any of this.
Or Rowan either.
Yeah, and I mean, Lysandra would have to be in Aelin's form when they like tried for these kids. So as Aedion says, it's literally like taking his cousin to bed. And I was like,
yeah,
crazy.
On a first read, there's so much happening and you're so emotionally high that you kind of don't let the gravity of this really sink in, right? But for us, since we spend hours on this, you really start to like think about and process like what this really means, the reality, the implications, right? And so I imagine this plan is pretty divisive in the TOG community, but I think we can all agree it's absolutely psychotic, right? I think we're all in agreement on that. But on the other hand, I get it. It's for literally the stability of the entire world. Like the world will not exist if this plan does not continue, okay? So I have that going on, right? And then you have the other element of like this thinking about Aedian's character, okay?
Yes.
And I would like to point out that yet again, Aelin has left Aedian out of the plan. And so I get why he reacts the way he does. We're careful with spoilers. I know a lot of people hate on Aedian. I don't know why. I still personally have gotten to the point where I'm like, what he's done is reprehensible, or I like really disagree. I usually can see Aedian's perspective. And in this moment, I don't care that he called Lysandra a bitch. I mean, was it nice? No. But I want you to think about what's happening from Aedian's perspective in this moment, okay? I truly believe that if Aelin had asked him, he would not have liked this plan, but he would have done it, no questions asked, because he would do anything for Aelin. He would do anything for Terrasen. But instead of giving him the respect of including him in this insane plan, which I know is insane, they were basically going to trick him into thinking he was sleeping with his cousin, which would also mean he'd be betraying his brother, aka Rowan. They have a brother bond, okay? They're, the old traditional cord of respect and honor, okay?
Yeah.
Can you imagine anything more demeaning and despicable? Like, think about what that would do to Aedian psychologically, to think that he has slept with his brother's mate. That is fucked up. You know what? The more I typed this out, it gets worse and worse.
I agree. It's just all around, like, it really bothers me most, like you said, that they didn't include Aedian in this or like ask for his consent. They're just gonna like proceed and trick him into having kids. And I'm like,
that feels a little sexual assaulty. I'm not gonna lie.
It's like literal entrapment in a way. I mean, it's like,
I mean, I love Aelin.
It's a fantasy series, and like, yes, I want what's best for the world, but I was like, damn.
I feel like they should have discussed it with Aedian and Rowan, because they would have, no, we're not going to do that, blah, 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 that's never going to happen. But when push came to shove, they would do it, and it would be much better, if those four, they knew it was really Lysandra and Aedian could still have a relationship. Secretly. See, but then would it ever really work? Because Rowan would know that's not really Aelin. He would know. He would figure it out. I don't know. It's a bad plan.
Yeah. And I guess just another thing for Rowan's perspective, he'd have to agree to pretend the children are his and Aelin's as well.
Yes.
Which is also just another layer to how confusing all of and convoluted it is. So I don't know. It's a crazy ass plan is what that is.
Yes. And think about the poor kids. The poor kids would be thinking Rowan's their daddy, and meanwhile, their real dad is watching another man raise it.
Oh my God, it'd be like a repeat of Gavriel. Aedian would be
that's some real Jerry Springer shit, okay?
Jerry Springer. Oh my God, I haven't thought about Jerry Springer.
Throwing it back, okay? Damn. That is just, that shit ain't right.
Not the father.
Bro. What do you call him, Uncle Daddy?
Oh God. Yeah, we're gonna move on from this. So
I have nothing good to say about that.
Understandably, Aedian is pissed and do think his anger is justified, considering yet again he's been left out of plans that directly involve him. And I can also understand the betrayal he feels that Lysandra has lied to him, considering she is supposed to be, his closest friend. But on the other hand, in this moment, I didn't love that he called her a bitch. I think his reaction too did seem to put a lot of the blame on her in this moment. So I was kind of like, she was doing what Aelin asked of her. So if anything, I don't know. Anyways, I guess from Lysandra's perspective, she serves Aelin, and what was she really supposed to do? Was she going to say no to her queen when Aelin is literally sacrificing her life for everyone? Plus, I think Lysandra still feels an enormous amount of loyalty and duty toward Aelin because Aelin freed her from her debts in Erebin and Clarice and gave her freedom, basically. So all in all, it's just yet another one of those super complex situations that just guts you emotionally.
I also think Aedian feels betrayed by Lysandra, too. They obviously have developed a thing. Okay,
Right.
we know that.
Yeah.
And I think Aideen is really hurt that both Aelin and Lysandra conspired
Yeah.
sort of against him. And so it's like a double whammy of both of them betraying. And then also Aelin is gone. And he
Right.
spent the years thinking
Right.
she was dead and, whatever. And then he went through all this. He finally gets her back. And then boom, gone.
Right. So Rowan walks off toward the water while Lorcan faces a very angry Aelin. She tells Lorcan, I hope you spend the rest of your miserable immoral life suffering. I hope you spend it alone. I hope you live with regret and guilt in your heart and never find a way to endure it. I was like, whoa. I don't know. Seeing how angry Aideen and Aelin are, it just kind of feels like everyone's breaking up, and I really hate that. Like, Aelin has always been very vicious with her words, and this was no exception, but just when things were going well,
They were getting steamy in the swamp, and now look.
Oh,
I still have to call myself out because I titled that episode Marsh Madness, and I am still so proud of that.
Marsh Madness. That's right.
Marsh Madness. From Marsh Madness to this.
Marsh
This whole
Madness to
time.
Marsh Sadness.
Wait, that's so good.
Ooh, sad.
Marsh Madness is Marsh Sadness. Truly, though. Honestly, this whole time when Aelin said that, I was like, Aelin, no! I'm like, he did it for you. He did it for you, Aelin. Okay? Don't get me wrong. Her feelings are totally valid. I just want them to be in love so bad.
I
And
know.
I'm like, don't be mad at him, okay?
I know.
Just try to see it from his perspective.
Heavy sigh. Aelin walks off to enter a sanctuary of wings and claws and teeth with the 13, which I will say was kind of nice to see despite the situation because it's like a sisterhood for her. And I think it signals Aelin is embracing her Blackbeak lineage and that they also in turn, really accept Aelin as well. So that's kind of nice. The scene ends with Aelin vowing he'd never forget Lorcan's lack of help and betrayal. And then we change to Manon's POV.
Instead of the Everybody Hates Chris show, it's now Everybody Hates Lorcan show.
I know.
I don't know if you guys ever watch Everybody Hates Chris, but that's what it made me think of. I'm like, damn, everybody hates Lorcan right now.
Yup. So in Manon's POV, I was very proud of Manon's emotional journey and her character's growth. I really feel like she's opened up herself to the positive emotions, and she herself is almost surprised to realize that she felt pure joy to see Astrid and her 13 again.
Every time Manon unlocks a new feeling, I always think of the Grinch and in the original animated one where they like show his heart getting bigger and bigger, and he's like, what is this feeling? And I love that. Who would have thought that Manon could actually feel something besides blind rage? As you like to say, Lorraine, that's love, baby.
That's love, baby. That's right. Astrid fills Manon in on how they'd killed and escaped the group of witches Granny B had sent after them and had since spent a month looking for Manon. Fortunately, Abraxos found them and led them back to her. The convo then shifts to Manon's Kraken lineage, and I love that there's no competitiveness or hatred toward Manon for being the literal Kraken queen. Instead, Sorrel was just like, yeah, so what? Like, cool. And Astrid adds, 5 centuries of pure-blooded Iron Teeth couldn't bring us home. Maybe you can. And to that, I say, hell yeah, brother. Manon will definitely reunite the witches, break the curse, and bring them all home at last. But most importantly, the faith that they all have in her just suggests how good the 13 really are. I also love that Manon goes on to ask the 13 if they'll follow her and then reflects on the parallels between her journey and what she'd witnessed with Elena's history and Aelin. And I feel like this really continues to reinforce that Aelin and Manon are truly mirrors and they have had parallel journeys. We've kind of talked about this before, but Manon, like Aelin, understands there is danger ahead and the path they will walk will not be easy. But they both also now understand that they need support and they also need to accept help. And that is not a weakness for them to want that. So it's sweet that she's asking for the 13 to come with her as a symbol of solidarity, to, fight together for the greater cause so that she wouldn't be alone in the next mission. I also think it's significant that Manon is giving the 13 a choice to follow her and, that they're doing so because they actually believe in the cause. And by doing so, Manon is signaling like a new vision for the witches. And it's one where they get to decide what to do rather than, blindly obey orders out of discipline as they have traditionally done under the old structure within the Iron Teeth groups,
That's a really good point. I did not think about it from that perspective, but you're right. Because remember, for literally hundreds of pages, Manon was like, obedience and discipline at any cost. Yeah. Nothing else matters. And so I think her asking them is really a symbolic gesture of turning over a new era for the witches. One not of fear and discipline and obedience, but one of hope and consent.
Yeah. I just love the 13 so much because Manon goes on to say, Aelin Galathinius willingly handed over her freedom so an Iron Teeth witch could walk free. We owe her a life debt, and more than that, it is time that we became better than our foremothers. We are all children of this land. I feel like this continues to be a really symbolic moment because Aelin's entire entwining of paths with the witches was started when she chose to save Manon at Themis' temple rather than let her die just because they were considered enemies. But since then, we've continuously seen both of them make choices to help each other rather than play back into their traditional role of being enemies. And I feel like by this point, Manon has fully internalized and accepted that she no longer wants to operate from a place of hatred and cruelty and self-interest. And thanks to what Aelin had given everyone by giving herself up to Maeve, and to ensure that wasn't in vain, I feel like Manon is really committing to following through on this future where everyone is united rather than divided. I loved at the end of this scene when Manon says, I'm going to find the Krakens and I'm going to raise an army with them for Aelin Galathinius and for her people and for ours. And then she asks again if they'll follow her, and they all touch their fingers to their brow. And I was like, to whatever end. I'm so pumped. I can't wait for Manon to find the Krakens, break the curse, and just embrace her queenhood,
I also love this moment. It reminded me a lot of the gesture they do in the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
I always find those moments very moving, both in the books and movies.
Yes.
Right? Like the music, and there's something really, I don't know, something about that that's just really symbolic and beautiful. And so I could picture it in my mind. The funny thing is, they're really not in the books that much, but they have a much bigger place in my heart than probably they should. So I hope to see more of them. I don't think we'll see them in Tower of Dawn, but in Kingdom of Ash.
Yes, yeah. We change to Dorian's POV next, as he also reflects on all Aelin had done and what she'd be required to do if she gets free of Maeve. But Manon comes over and confirms that Aelin had slipped her the word keys. Dorian thinks she'd been dealt such a wicked, impossible hand, and yet Aelin had made it count one less time she'd made it count. Aelin. She just over and over again always protects the people that she loves. Manon shows Dorian the keys, then adds, Elena said Mala's bloodline can stop this. It runs in both your houses. And this is when Dorian realizes that Manon was implying Dorian could also use the lock and keys, and that Aelin had never planned to see Terrasen again. Okay, so this definitely confirms some of our speculations that Dorian will be involved with the keys in the word gate. So with this, I feel pretty confident in stating Dorian will help Aelin power-wise to seal the word keys in and close the gate permanently because, they're going to rescue Aelin for sure. I'd also like to add, I think Dorian will be the one to get the third word key since he leaves with Manon at the end here. And, they have this convo about the quest not ending here.
Oh, that's a really good point. I think I was so wrapped up in everything with Aelin and Lorcan in the lead that I was almost like, Dorian who?
No.
I'm not saying he's not important, but he's kind of not that important right now.
Yeah, his role hasn't.
So I've always been a little confused by the Dorian extremists in the fandom because I'm not bash on Dorian. I like him, but he's really not prevalent in this series very much.
Tread carefully.
yes.
Tread carefully.
I know. I am. Okay, Lori, sit down. In TOG, yes, in the combat, but Heir of Fire,
That's true, yeah.
And then definitely Queen of Shadows. And even in this book, his POVs are very limited. Like,
Right.
he's always there, but his thoughts aren't really shared. So I have a feeling, kind of based on this conversation goes, that we're going to get a lot more of Dorian in Kingdom of Ash, and just he and Manon off together leading the charge to get the final word key.
Yes. I feel like we're kind of like leading up to a point where like Dorian's going to get like a big action moment, or like a much more like big pivotal moment. And up until this point, we've seen him change a lot through his experiences by literally being inhabited by a Vogue, learning the truth about his father, discovering that he has magic, and all this other like crazy stuff. I feel like most of this book he's been observing, and as you said, we don't really like get his internal thoughts. So hopefully it's all brewing and converging to the Kingdom of Ash point where like we get some kind of big moment from him. So
Dorian just still feels a bit of a mystery to me. We don't get a ton of Aedion and Lysandra either, but I feel like I have a much deeper developed sense of who they are as characters, right? And what their journeys are. And Dorian's future feels so unsettled because he's gone through so many changes. I mean, literally think of him back in chapter 1 of TOG.
Oh my
this
gosh,
swaggering, haughty, pretty boy. And where he is now is so different. Those two people are so far from each other. And so I feel almost in a way disconnected because I haven't gotten the time with Dorian. So I'm looking forward to that hypothetical possibility in Kingdom of Ash.
That's true, yeah. I think for me, I was just waiting to see what it's all culminating to, because you know he's important.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting all these hints, and we're seeing that he's changing and growing a lot as a character. He has really powerful magic. His bloodlines are really important to the overall cause, but we have yet to see, like, the significance of that play out. So I think that's kind of what I've been waiting for. So
I feel that.
So to end this chapter, Dorian takes the word keys, and he and Manon agree they've got shit to do. I like that all of this did not frighten Dorian, and that he embraces that he is now heavily involved with the word keys and the word gate, which could very well possibly mean a sacrifice of his own life force too. We shall see. All right, so that ends chapter 74. Moving on to our final one, chapter 75. So more big plans from Aelin are revealed at the end, starting with the fact that Rowan and Aelin had married 2 days prior, with Aedion, Lysandra, and the ship captain as witness.
Let me just say, I feel so cheated.
Oh, I know.
So cheated. Can you imagine how fabulous and fun Aelin's wedding would have been? What does Aelin love? Music. Dancing, food, beautiful dresses. What does a wedding have? Literally all of those things, okay? I better get a fucking redo on this. I want a real wedding. I want an ostentatious dress. I want a stupid amount of food. I want chocolate cake. I want pear tarts. I want Madam, I forgot her name. Damn it, the lady from QOS, the dancer lady. I want her. I want the dancers. I want it all. Okay.
Yes,
I will not be cheated from this.
I know. It's kind of giving Onyx Storm.
If you know, you know.
If
and
you know,
also
you know.
for Rowan, I want meat on a stick. Okay. I want meat on a stick, and I want chocolate cake.
Oh my God. I forgot about that. I do want to see it play out. I hope we get that.
Yes.
So Rowan reflects on how part of him had known for a while that Aelin was his mate. He leapt in front of her at Skull's Bay, knowing it deep down. Knowing mates aware of the bond could not bear to harm each other, and when she had proved him right, he had turned from that proof still unready. I feel like this truly shows how destructive Maeve's interference with Lyria had really been, and how confusing it must have been for Rowan to feel his way about Aelin, and yet not really know, because he'd been convinced so thoroughly that Lyria was his mate. And this is all made even worse because without that confusion, Rowan and Aelin may have had more time together, like to actually be in a relationship as mates. And of course, I'm glad that they slowly grew from like a mentor-mentee to friends and finally to marrying in secret. But it's sad that they'd been denied all of this time knowing that they were mates because of Maeve.
I'm just going to insert an obligatory fuck Maeve here.
True. Yes. Necessary. I did love this thought from Rowan when it said his fire heart, his equal, his friend, his lover, his wife, his mate. Aelin!
Y'all, I cannot even. Ending on Rowan's POV was brutal.
I know.
Necessary, but just devastating.
We next get confirmation that the reason Aelin had thrown up and wanted to talk to Lysandra after the DNA encounter had been because she realized that the cost of sealing the gate, forging a new lock to do so, was her life. Her immortal life. So I really keyed in on the immortal life part because based on what Maeve said, we know Aelin will likely go through the settling and come out with immortality and her magic still locked in. And then to add to this, Rowan also thinks she had arranged for everything to fall into place when she yielded her life, when she gave up 1,000 years to save them. And so all of this combined, I actually feel kind of relieved about the future because I think this means that she doesn't actually need to die like for real, to seal the word gate and forge a new lock. She will just need to give up her immortal lifespan, which, still obviously sucks because she won't live as long. But I will take that over Aelin actually dying for this cause.
Well, of course. I mean, that's a no-win situation, right? But I mean, it's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I'm going to sit with it. I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say, I'm just kind of like, okay. And that's a nice little loophole. I like that we're building the loophole language. I hate that, though, because the thought of Aelin and Rowan spending their lives together with the agony of knowing she's going to die and he has to live on without her.
I know.
That almost feels a little worse to me. It's like you get a taste of the life you could have had. I mean, I don't know. It all sounds awful.
But at least she won't die early.
True. Yeah, I know. Of course, it's a no.
I still have the other thing in my mind about how, like, maybe by going through the word gate portal process, some of the gods will, some way, somehow, they'll be like, you know what, we won't take your life force for this, thank you, and we'll give it back to you. Or like the word, or like whatever magic will just be like, you know what, Aelin, you've done enough, here you go. Like,
as a reward.
Yes,
thank you for your sacrifice.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I still don't understand why we can't just take half a Dorian and half a Aelin, make a hole, forge the lock, beam bop, boom bop, bam. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
That seems like a good plan to me.
Yeah, lots of possibilities though. So, okay. Also, speaking of the lock, I think it's been mentioned a few times now that it's not a matter of really imbuing the Eye of Elena with power. It sounds like they have to literally make a new lock. So I am curious about what that process will be like. Will Manon definitely need to help with that if a new lock requires a new witch mirror like the Eye of Elena has, and et cetera, you know? I love that even though Aelin had made all of her plans with the intention of never seeing anyone again, Rowan thinks he would not accept the fate that had been dealt to her, would not accept that her life was the asking price for saving this world, her life or Dorian's. He would not accept it for one heartbeat. Retweet, Rowan. It's time to lock in and go get your mate.
Rowan.
I thought it was very mature and restrained of Rowan to realize that Lorcan had already endured enough agony and regret, and that I think ultimately taking his anger out on Lorcan wasn't going to help or change the situation. I also think that this will be Lorcan's, official turning point to join and pledge loyalty to Aelin now because, he's hit rock bottom. And now he sees that everything he thought he was fighting for was actually for the wrong cause. Ultimately, he'd made a massive, unthinkable mistake with his loyalty to Maeve, and Rowan thinks something had fractured in Lorcan, and if Rowan attacked now, the other male would die. Lorcan might not even put up much of a fight.
I think you're right. This really is his rock bottom, but now his redemption arc can begin. And even though I still stand by that he didn't really do anything wrong, I'm not going to call it a redemption. Let me rephrase. An evolution
Okay.
arc.
I
And
like
that's
that.
what I'm excited for Lorcan. Yeah.
I also found it notable that Rowan sends out a message and feeling down the bond he has with Aelin, he thinks that it had perhaps settled into place that first moment they'd become Karanom, but he thinks, fight it, fight her. I am coming for you, even if it takes 1,000 years. I will find you. I will find you. I will find you. Obviously this is so sweet, and I hope to the word that Aelin gets it or feels it. But I also feel like this confirms that the mental communication thing that they've done on occasion is a result of the mating bond rather than the Karanom bond.
Reading this back, I feel like S-Jam was dropping breadcrumbs about Aelin's capture this whole time. There really is a lot of this I'll go to the ends of the earth to find you. I'll fight the gods for you. I'll burn it down. Like nothing and no one can keep me from you, not time or space or Maeve.
Right.
And so now then when you see all this language here, you're like, it all makes sense.
While many events in this last set of chapters were just straight up depressing, on a positive note, the fact that Galen Ash River and the Silent Assassins showed up was chef's kiss.
Literally chef's kiss. Oh my God, I can't believe I have not said chef's kiss, not even one time in this episode. What the actual fuck? Okay. Well, thank you for saying it. I am so mad at myself for not recording my reaction to this because the way my jaw hit the floor, the way I was like, not really prepared for that. Honestly, I did think, not Galen so much, but the Silent Assassins would come back, but I thought it would be in KOA.
Yes,
so I was like, they're back. Ilias is back. See, I really wanted to see Ilias and Aelin see each other because remember, they had a little flirtation. They had a little thing. And I know that was a long time ago, but I just kind of wanted that little like awkward moment. I don't know.
Yeah. I just have, again, so much respect for Aelin. I love that her note to Galen was, Terrace remembers Evelyn Ash River. Do you? I fought at Mistwood for your people. Return the God's damned favor. It's just like such an Aelin note, But per usual, I am just so amazed and inspired by all these threads and connections from Aelin's past coming back together, and that all of Aelin's moments of showing mercy or kindness and sacrifice for others is coming back full circle. Ilias tells them all, we have come to fulfill our life debt to Selena Sardothian, to Aelin Galathinius.
I know. I had actual goosebumps reading that. I love that. So really now all I'm waiting on is Irene Towers to come back. She's the last one from the Assassin's Blade.
Yes.
So we'll see.
We'll see. I also found it hilarious that Ilias looks to Ansel and then Ansel looks like she's going to throw up because obviously she'd screwed them over in the Red Desert. And so she's just like, shit,
Girl, she didn't screw them over. She tried to kill his dad.
I know.
And she almost killed him. Like, she didn't just, steal some money or gold or whatever. She murdered a bunch of people there. So poor Ansel. I was cackling though. Because, not much phases Ansel. She's a lot like Aelin in many ways. Not much really throws her off her game. And so you can just imagine the look of horror on her face because that was probably quite literally the very last thing she expected to happen.
Right.
They have come from a very long way.
Yeah.
And so, she was like, oh, fuck.
All in all, with hundreds of silent assassins and hundreds of new ships from Galen's armada here to aid them, in addition to Rolf, the Mycenians, and Ansel's men, Terracin now has a fighting chance. And honestly, I could cry with joy. I was like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. I have to call it this moment because it is just so epically written and I could really visualize it. And I think it's probably from my watching of House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones because it feels like a very, I don't know, that kind of moment. But it says, tell Aelin Galathinius that Wenland had never forgotten Evelyn Ash River or Terracin. Adian fell to his knees in the sand as Wenland's armada spread before them. And I'm just picturing like Adian all bloodied up and just like this beautiful beach and this endless array of ships just coming and coming, right?
Like
and
on
it's
the horizon.
And then the music on the horizon. Yes, exactly. And you're just like overwhelmed. I don't know. I think it's really great.
Yes, I agree. I was also really emotionally impacted by Adian's reaction because I think you just know he feels so guilty for ever questioning Aelin. Of course, he couldn't have known, but I'm sure like retroactively it feels kind of awful for him to know that Aelin never told them because she was so afraid of failing everyone. Ultimately, everything she'd done had always been for Terracin, for them, for a better world. Aelin Galathinius had raised an army not just to challenge Morath, but to rattle the stars.
To rattle the stars. Guys, okay, I'm just going to say this really quickly because I know this is a long episode and we said it wouldn't be and we're liars as usual. But there's this like very popular TikTok audio for Third Glass stuff. And it's usually one of the last lines from like Crown of Midnight or Heir of Fire or even Queen of Shadows. I can't even replicate the singing because that's not my talent. But it's called Angel by the Wings by Sia, and I hear it all the time. That is my song for this series. Okay, like the main lyric is, you can do anything. And so like I can hear this quote and then I can hear the song like overlaid. And it just, I'm a very musical, emotional attachment person, right? So like I really attach songs to moments and I'm like, oh my God. Maybe I'll make my own reel so you guys can go and watch it and understand what's going on in my brain.
That's funny because the only one that's stuck in my head in association with this is the I hear your voice.
It calls
it's like the angels calling.
Okay, thank you, King Bronn.
King Bronn, Pepe. Yeah, anyways, Aelin's gonna rattle them stars and I cannot wait for that moment. But I just love this quote and the theme and how impactful it is. So here's a little refresher on some key star-related quotes. So in TOG, we had, still the image haunted his dreams throughout the night, a lovely girl gazing at the stars and the stars who gazed back. And then also in TOG, you could rattle the stars. You could do anything if you only dared. And then in Heir of Fire, I will gather the rest of my court, our court, and then we will raise the greatest army the world has ever witnessed. I will call in every favor, every debt owed to slainest Ardothian, to my parents, to my bloodline. And then I'm going to rattle the stars. And then in Queen of Shadows, there was a quote that said, then she smiled with every last shred of courage, of desperation, of hope for the glimmer of that glorious future. Let's go rattle the stars.
Oh my God. Does any series name one that has more quotable quotes than TOG? There isn't one. Seriously.
Top tier. Yes.
Top tier.
Rowan briefly reflects on the last piece of the plan, which would fall on Chaol and Nesryn to rally forces in the southern continent. And I'm very excited to see what groups they get together because we really know like nothing about the southern continent. Lysandra interrupts the group, perfectly posing as Aelin Ashriver Galathinius to greet Galen and Ilias. And this was just another secondary layer to why Lysandra had played Aelin's double for their first meeting with Rolf in Skulls Bay. Aelin and Lysandra, I feel like, had been planning for this for like quite a while at this point. But also major props to Lysandra for being able to recreate Aelin like so perfectly, you know. Lysandra leads them away to talk logistics, starting with stating they'd head north to Terrasen, but she also tells Rowan, Prince, I need you to retrieve something for me before you join us in the north. Find her, the shifter seemed to beg. I love that Lorcan, Gavriel, and Elide all also promised that they'd go with Rowan to get Aelin back. And this really did give me the hope I needed because I trust this group implicitly. They're stronger together and there's no way they're going to let Maeve keep Aelin imprisoned.
And maybe, just maybe, Lorcan can redeem himself with the lead while they go on this mission together.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got that added bonus as well.
That's true. Meanwhile, Aedion promises to head back north to Terrasen, since if the world believed Aelin was returning north, then one of her generals had to be at her side to lead her armies. So he tells Rowan, bring her home. And then speaking of other couples, Aedion and Lysandra are going to have a lot to talk about, but I really hope that they will actually be able to work through this. You know, I'm a little nervous.
I know. I feel like they're going to spend a lot of time being too mad to actually talk to each other, or they're just going to do a lot of fighting. There's going to be a lot of bad feelings. Honestly, nothing can probably get resolved until Aelin is rescued. That's probably going to be the reality, but that's okay. All couples go through difficult times. I mean, Rowan and Aelin literally couldn't stand each other in the beginning, and here we are.
Fair.
There's still hope.
Next, Dorian announces he'd be heading north with the witches, insisting that the keys should be kept as far away from Maeve as possible, and that if he can help by doing this, by finding the third, I will serve you better that way. So I am actually very excited for Dorian and Manon to be together and for their side quest to find the third key and also find the Krakens. I've really grown to love their relationship, and I'm excited to see how they grow and operate together, especially when it said Dorian again looked to Manon, who now smiled faintly at him. It was a smile that softened her face and made it come alive. It's so cute. Plus, I am just very curious to know more about the Krakens and honestly just what the hell they've been doing this whole time. Where have they been? how have they been rebuilding? What's going on?
Yes. Who, what, where, when, why, how.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seriously. I'm also very curious to see how they're going to receive Manon.
Yeah.
Because I could really see them be like, basically, fuck you. You killed your half-sister and you've done a bunch of bad shit. But also, I think about that scene with Heir of Fire with her half-sister, right? And I think the Krakens know the brutality that they're raised in. Right.
Yeah.
So I think there's this note of empathy, of understanding too. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's going to go smoothly. I don't think they're going to like welcome them with open arms. Right. But
yeah,
I'm very interested to see the witch dynamics and how they change.
Mm-hmm. I also really liked seeing that Dorian bows his head to Rowan. It's like a king to king moment because it shows the respect that they've built now. And in addition, I thought it was touching that Aelin also steps up to hug Dorian after he promises to rejoin them in Terrasen because, I mean, to be honest, Aelin hasn't expressed like any warmth toward Dorian for the most part throughout this book, especially considering his idea is what separated Aelin from them all in the first place. But I think Aelin is coming around and is starting to see that Dorian is not who he thought he was, and ultimately, I think, is developing some respect for him. So
I really like that too. And especially because we know part of Aelin's character growth in this book has been several of the conversations he's had with Lysandra about his conflicted and resentful feelings towards Dorian because of his association with Adelin, right? And Lysandra has really pushed him to grow in that regard. And so, I don't know, I like the description too, how he like kind of stares at him for a second and gives him like a really quick, like awkward, hard hug. And he's like, be safe out there, bro.
Yeah,
I still kind of dislike you, but like I kind of love you. I don't know. It's nice.
Yeah. Rowan and Dorian also have a private conversation about trusting the witches, and we learn that 13 would leave 2 witches and wyverns to guard their ship to the edge of the continent. Then, after a hug fit for brothers, Dorian joins Manon on Abraxos. Rowan, Lorcan, Gabriel, Alid, Astrid, and Briar next all prepare for the hunt to find Aelin, and notably Alid skirts Lorcan in favor of Astrid, which was obviously awkward to read and sad. But, it's just a little bump in their marriage, okay? Husband and wife, they gotta work through it.
When mommy and daddy are fighting, it doesn't mean that they don't love each other, okay?
Rowan takes a moment to pick up Aelin's shirt, and we get another small glimmer of hope when Rowan feels the bond flicker like the fluttering heart of an ember. Empire of Storms officially comes to a close as Rowan shifts and launches into the sky, unleashing a cry that set the world trembling, and Prince Rowan Whitethorn Galathinius, consort of the Queen of Terrasen, began the hunt to find his wife. This was like, it feels surreal to get through Empire of Storms and end where we are. I feel like we're having another end of like calm moment where we ended on a huge cliffhanger, and now we're gonna, go backtrack in time with Tower of Dawn. But this time it's like to cover things from Chaol's perspective in the southern continent instead of like reading Tab, similar situation, but different characters and whatnot. But I'm obviously anxious to see how they rescue Aelin, what they do about Maeve, and of course, the situation with Erawan and the word keys. But I'm also excited to see what's been going on with Chaol, his healing process, and their international relations to gain new allies.
Oh, yeah. I am excited to talk about that, too. And we'll talk more about that in our end of book wrap up for Empire of Storms. But I think kind of my final last thought, which is kind of feels like a huge outstanding question, but also something that will be revealed relatively quickly, is where is Maeve going to take Aelin? I don't know why, but on a first read, I just assumed she would take her back to Doranel. But now I'm like, that's way too obvious. Because I'm assuming Maeve thinks that they're going to come after her and she's going to entrap them all or kill them all, right?
Right.
And so now I want to know where they're going to take her, how they're going to track her down. Right. I mean, really just the whole rescue scene. Like, I'm just very interested in that. Who's going to get to kill Cairn, because he will not live another day in the world the moment Rowan gets within 100 miles of him.
Yes.
So, yeah, I feel very unsettled. I am going to try to put this out of my mind until it gets closer to being the time to pick it back up again. Because, yeah, this was hard to read.
What a place to end. Crazy.
To be fair, you guys did warn us. Several of you were like, it ends on a big cliffhanger. I just want to let you know. I'm like, I'll be fine. It's like, how big could it be? I should have listened.
Yeah, you guys were right, and you told us so. Anyways, well, that officially concludes the analysis portion of our episode today. So now we just have our favorite moments and quotes to share.
Okay, well, to kick us off, once again, Lady Marion's sacrifice. I'll never stop talking about it. I loved when Aelin tells Elid, I'm glad we met. I'm proud to know you. And I think your mother would have been proud of you too, Elid.
Aw. My first favorite one was when Aelin thinks she would never count for that rutting bitch.
Hell yeah. No, she wouldn't.
Yeah.
I really loved the quote, but Terrasen would need that sort of courage. If it was to survive, if it was to heal, Terrasen would need a lead lock-in. I just love that. I love Elid's importance, despite the fact that, relatively speaking, comparative to others, power-wise, fighting-wise, she's kind of useless, but she is so important and not useless at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like how her importance to the cause is highlighted.
Yes. My next favorite one was when Aelin thinks time. She was grateful Elena had given her that stolen time. Grateful she had met them all, that she had seen some small part of the world, had heard such lovely music, had danced and laughed and known true friendship. Grateful that she had found Rowan. She was grateful.
I literally got goosebumps hearing you read that.
I know.
I love when it said, Astrid shrugged. 5 centuries of pure-blooded Iron Teeth couldn't bring us home. Maybe you can. A child not of war, but of peace.
My next favorite one, I liked when Manon gives her little speech to the 13 and she says, Aelin Galathinius willingly handed over her freedom so an Iron Teeth witch could walk free. We owe her a life debt, and more than that, it is time that we became better than our foremothers. We are all children of this land.
Oh my God. Retweet. Manon said again to her 13, will you follow me? They all touched their fingers to their brows again, and Manon returned the gesture. Is it 2 or 3 fingers, do you think? 2 feels kind of silly, but 3 feels right.
I feel like,
I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels like it's 3, because like 3 would also go with like the 3, like
maiden,
the
mother,
3.
crone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Canon.
My next favorite one is also related to the witches, and it's when Manon says, I'm going to find the Krakens and I'm going to raise an army with them for Aelin Galathinius and her people, and for ours.
This is a shared one between Lorraine and I, but I love when Rowan thinks his fire heart, his equal, his friend, his lover, his wife, his mate.
Oh,
finally, what a heartbreaking confirmation.
Oh, the buzzard. Rowan the
buzzard.
My next favorite one was for Rowan, and it's when he vows, I am coming for you, even if it takes me 1,000 years. I will find you. I will find you. I will find you.
This is also a shared one between Lorraine and I. I loved when it said, and Rowan knew that every step she had taken, every plan and calculation, every secret and desperate gamble for Terrasen, for them, for a better world, Aelin Galathinius had raised an army not just to challenge Morath, but to rattle the stars.
Rattle the stars. I love that.
I know. Just fuck me up, okay?
So my next favorite one is when at the end they're all talking about going to rescue Aelin, and it said, together we'll go together.
Together forever, baby. This next one is a bit of an odd one to be a favorite moment, but Rowan said something very similar in Queen of Shadows when he was thinking about Aelin's time in Endovir, and something about just the way it's worded and like the symbolic meaning and stuff just really resonates with me. But it's when he thinks his fire heart locked in the dark. I don't know. I think I like it because of the emotional punch it gives me, you know?
Yeah.
It makes me feel something.
I know. So my last favorite one is when it said, unleashing a cry that set the world trembling, Prince Rowan Whitethorn Galathinius, consort of the Queen of Terrasen, began the hunt to find his wife.
God's above his wife. My last favorite moment on this very similar punchy emotional moment is when Galen Ashriver says, tell Aelin Galathinius that Wenlin has never forgotten Evelyn Ashriver or Terrasen.
Oh,
Terrasen.
Woo! Terrasen. All right. Well, that officially concludes our episode for today. So thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Booked on Fantasy podcast. As always, we are so glad you found us. So please leave us a review and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube to keep up with us on a daily basis. That's all we've got for you guys today.
Feels so good to say this again. So live a little.
And we'll catch you all next week. Bye.
Bye. And stay tuned for several bloopers. Are we frozen?
It froze.
No.
Oh, wait. Okay, it's back.
Better?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. It said app is not focused. Yeah, what does that mean?
Girl, I don't know.
I ain't never seen that before.
What do that mean? I don't know.
Who it is? I don't know. I ate my good break.
Was this a short one?
Okay.
I hope so.
Yeah, I don't think it was that long.
Okay. That's kind of long.
Damn it, Lorraine. Why'd you just say so much interesting stuff?
Yeah. I know I'm killing myself.
First and foremost. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, we're never going to get through this. Okay. Woo.